Spoon, fellow
Spoon!
internet. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to our Season 2 review podcast for Amazon Prime's The Tick. That's right, it's the reboot. Dragon, fun fact for you, all right? This kind of bothers me.
What?
If you type in The Tick Season 2 review, this is now only going to be, I believe, the third or fourth video that actually pops up for it on all of YouTube. Like, this is like kidding all over again, man. I don't get it. It's like this show, I thought everyone really liked this show. I thought people were excited for this show. Nobody is talking about this show, it seems, Dragon. I mean, it's, it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's only based on a handful of reviews. I don't know. Are you detecting that? Or are you detecting I feel like when season 1 was coming out, everyone was like really stoked on it, but now season 2 and it's just kind of like, yeah, that exists.
Yeah, I got a little bit of that. I see. I think it's just kind of more of like we need a little bit more time before people like review the full thing. But still, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of people. So by the same token, I think you're absolutely right that Tick, for some reason, again, the Tick's getting the okay to come back. So I'm not complaining. Unfortunately, I'm hoping that that sort of reaction doesn't hurt it for getting a potential third season. But I mean, so again, it's baffling. But in this season, it was consistent, and that's consistent from good stuff. So
yeah. So just really quickly on my thesis, Dragon, I knew pretty much from the get-go that I was going to watch this all in one sitting. Basically, is a long movie. And that's exactly what I did this morning / afternoon. And I got to say, I really liked it. I don't think here's the thing, Dragon. Here's my conundrum, all right? I feel like the production values are upped in season 2. I feel like the character development is upped in season 2. The one thing that season 1 has over season 2, and it's kind of a big thing, is I don't feel like any of the villains in season 2, like we're nowhere near the level of Jackie Earle Haley in terms of like a long-term villain arc. Like the closest we get with season 2 is Miss Lint, but she is really kind of more of a reformed hero a reformed villain by the end of it. So really, I feel like season 2 very much shines in its characters. Whereas season 1, I really feel like one of the big reasons I personally was so attached to season 1 is season 1 had good characters. It had all the meta humor that we love about the Tick, but it was also anchored by a really damn good villain, man. And season 2, I feel like that might be a reason why season 2 isn't sort of getting the level of hype. Dragon, it's like, to me, I feel like this is almost kind of like a lower scale, like Daredevil season 2, in terms of like you and I both agree that Daredevil season 2, it's maybe a little bit of a notch below Daredevil season 1, but in some ways there's some stuff that Daredevil season 2 does that's like better than season 1. All the Frank Castle stuff in that season is fantastic. I'd wager to say that some of the action in season 2 is even better than Cutman. I mean, like in season 2, when it fires on all cylinders, it really works. Like season 2, there are some moments where it's like, yeah, okay, this episode could be cut out, but really, there's a lot of episodes in season 2 of Daredevil that really fire on all cylinders. But it is, in some ways, just kind of a lesser cohesive, like we don't have the Kingpin looming over everything. And that's very much how I feel about the Tick season 2, Dragon. I like it a lot. I'm not in my attitude of like, oh, I liked it, but I didn't love it, Dragon. It didn't exceed my expectations. No, Dragon, I want you to know I'm not in that mood at all. Like I think this definitely this equals season 1. I don't think it surpasses it at all. And I'd say in some ways, just based on the villain, like I will say I feel like by the end of season 2, I was kind of just like, all right, like I kind of see where this is going. It's almost kind of like the ending of Iron Man 3 situation, right? And I feel like the villain is very similar to Iron Man 3 in a lot of ways, which we'll get into. where it's like, all right, we have this, we had a lot of cool stuff, but then it just kind of ends with this sort of like confrontation with this villain that doesn't really have much charisma. And in fact, there's jokes made about him being not very charismatic. And so it kind of wraps up in a weird sort of like, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but just sort of like, all right, it's like we're here. This is where the characters end off. I mean, I don't really think that the ending of the season has the same sort of oomph that the big bad of season 1 had. So I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles and repeating myself. Dragon, are we kind of on point with this? I feel like it's a very easy thing to agree with.
I'd say for the most part, yeah. I mean, the only thing I'd add on to that, Tiki, is that again, I think the comparisons are on the money, and that is very much kind of a Kingpin effect of season 2, where again, the terror put things into play for sure. But and here's the best thing I can say about season 2, I guess for me, is that season 2, looking at both shows, they're both this season's kind of an evolution from season 1 to kind of the more kind of classic kind of Tick and Arthur adventures, and it's basically these 2 seasons feel like 2 different shows, but they're both really great different shows. And again, they feel like a progression. Don't get me wrong; they feel very different. And basically, the only thing I add on to what you said, again, I'm pretty much in agreement with you. The only thing I'd say is that I'd say the whole, like, again, this season is kind of City of Heroes to a degree, and I think that's the point. Again, it is all heroes. Even like the villains that we think are villains are again kind of in that weird hero space. Again, some are kind of in a transitional phase, and of course,
like Superion's got this weird Dr. Manhattan thing going on.
Yeah, we have kind of Superion and Janet have kind of a really interesting kind of flip flop going on there, but and vice versa. Don't get me wrong, we have like a couple bad guys with the Donnellys. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, primarily with our main guy, who again we'll get to. Let's just say the interesting thing is that, again, here's the thing. You're not wrong with the Iron Man 3 comparison with a very specific plot point of this season, but for me, honestly, I kind of got a little bit of a Baron Zemo vibe from Captain America: Civil War. I got kind of that.
I could see that.
Primarily with how the season ends, I got definitely kind of a Zemo vibe off of that guy. So again, I don't think it's a bad thing either. I just feel it is different. Again, I think this season, as you said, speaks to the characters, and it's all about kind of how kind of what the Tick is classically about, how the Tick influences other people. It's like the Tick is kind of the static force. It's kind of almost like a Batman thing. We have a static character who really, most all intents and purposes, does not change, and he affects other people. And that's kind of what we have going on here with the Tick, but more so what the season's going for is we're seeing the Tick and Arthur's influence on the city and on the other characters, which of course kind of changes the status quo in a major way, giving us kind of that classic kind of Tick animated series thing. And a little bit of the Patrick Warburton Tick, where again it's kind of multiple superheroes. We're seeing kind of we're seeing kind of like a world of heroes and kind of through Ben Edlund's worldview. So this season feels very Ben Edlund accurate. In a really great way. I think it's kind of has a tighter narrative with 10 episodes. I don't think we wasted anything. I'll admit there's an episode or two where, again, I really don't think we wasted anything. I think some episodes stand out a little bit better than others, but again, I'm not a stinker among them. I think these are all great, and I do service the plot. Like we didn't waste any parts of the Buffalo, I'd say, but we'll get into that, I suppose. But on the whole, a lot of fun. A lot of heart. I think they really drove the pathos here, because I got to tell you, man, there's so many points in this season where I felt genuine pathos and chills. Like the Tick gave me chills throughout the season, man. It was like, oh my God, there's a hero for you. Oh my goodness. Like how could I love Peter Serafinowicz as the Tick even more? Well, he surprised me. I loved him even more than I already did. It's definitely, it's kind of a serialized season where it's really again, it's kind of like it's part of a grand plan versus the other episode where it's kind of like we're going episode to episode, kind of seeing where it goes, and it's kind of like I don't know. I guess on the whole, and now I say it out loud, I got to be honest. I guess this iteration of the Tick feels a little bit more serialized than the previous incarnations. And again, that by no means is a bad thing. It's just this sort of thing where it's where each Tick show brings something different to the table. And Ben Edlund say that himself, because you have the comic series just kind of puts things into play, but really it's just kind of like a blueprint, which then gets expanded in the animated series, which is really, for all intents and purposes, kind of like the Bible for the Tick, where Edlund did the most stuff with them. And then you get the Patrick Warburton series, which kind of shows you how can you bring this to live action, how can you play with the comedy, specifically kind of the Tick influencing other people. And then this show here is just kind of like they have a plan. This series to me, and this season especially, feels like the most kind of smartly kind of formalized and just kind of like formulated. Sorry, kind of the most kind of smartly formulated. Just kind of like there's a plan here, and we know exactly how we're going to accomplish this. We're going to have fun along the way. So this, out of all the Tick iterations, this feels like the most kind of fleshed out, and it has the most places to go. As much as the Tick animated series is fun and just it's funny, it's clever. Again, kind of mines a little bit of every interpretation. So I think the show really is kind of making a name for itself in some really great ways. So yeah, the Tick. Anyway, so I guess moving on to the Tick season 2 here. I guess we're just going to start with episode 1. Basically, folks, we're just going to break these down episode by episode, kind of give you like a highlight reel. We're not going to go beat by beat. Believe me, we could if we really wanted to, but we're not. We're not going to subject you folks to that. We're just going to we're just going to kind of highlight reel and kind of go over the big talking points of the 10 episodes of season 2. So I guess that brings us to episode 1. Episode 1 is entitled Lesson 1: Think Quick. So, episode 1 brings us to the status quo, brings us to the new status quo. So it literally takes place a day after season 1 ended, which is kind of cool. Where so a day after season 1 ended, Arthur's worldview is definitely kind of changed. You know, he got revenge on the man who kind of killed his father very callously by dropping a ship on him. You know, he proved the terror existed. You know, he kind of, again, didn't get the glory, but, you know, he got the justice. And, you know, Arthur, basically his big kind of childhood trauma, like the thing kind of haunted his whole life. It's been solved. So we're kind of entering into the new status quo in the episode here. So a day after terror is gone, he's decided to, and again, this is just a great thing the season has to work with. Arthur is, he's very proactively driving the story this season. It's not just like the Tick dropping into his lap and then just kind of going from shenanigan to shenanigan. No, it's like Arthur saying, you know, Tick saying, "Hey Arthur, we're gonna fight crime today. We're gonna answer Destiny's call." And Arthur's like, "Yeah." Tick's like, "Wait, really?" And then essentially that's it. You know, he's just like, Arthur's like he's answering the hero's call, and we're kind of getting to that place in kind of the Tick mythology, I guess, where, you know, Arthur is he's just like, okay, well, I've accepted my lot in life. You know, he's not fighting it like season 1, kind of grappling with. It's like, you know what, I had a good feeling when I defeated the man who, you know, is going to ruin my life, ruin a lot of other people's lives, and you know what, let's just keep doing that. I'm invested. And of course he's trying to set some boundaries with the day job and stuff initially. Here is like he's in it. He's not fighting anymore. And the Tick is more than thrilled. Anywho. So speaking of the Tick, one thing right off the bat I want to talk about. The Tick's costume. My goodness. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this costume. I knew I wasn't going to hate it by any stretch, but I mean, I've seen it in the promotional thing they did. And hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, sorry about that. Where are we?
We're on episode 1, talking about the Tick's costume. What do you think of it?
Oh man, I love this joke. You know, I gotta say I was kind of used to like the scaly armor kind of look, but you know, after an episode or two, I really got used to the kind of like the one piece with the body armor look that we went with, and I like the sort of like throwaway, literally the throwaway joke of like, oh, there's another one, Arthur. Let me get rid of that for you. I don't know. I thought it was a really good kind of like sort of roadie, like, yeah, I'm here. Let's not talk about it. You know, like, you know, I like good fourth wall breaks like that, Dragon.
And
you know I'm a fan of those.
What's really cool about that is the fact that, again, we did that last season too, where like, you know, Tick, you look different from the pilot to episode 1, and of course it says, yeah, Tick just doesn't pick up on it. And this is just like a perfect acknowledgement of it. Again, as I was kind of mentioning as you're kind of come back here, is that I remember in the marketing they showed you what the new suit was going to look like, but he wasn't wearing it, and it was just kind of like I wasn't sure I was going to feel about it. And of course, I felt kind of silly because seeing it just from image 1, it's like, oh my god, it looks perfect on him. I don't know what I was thinking. Like this, I think it's the best look we have of Tick in live action. I really do. It just looks perfect.
Yeah, I really think it's a perfect sort of like melding of like the modern day sort of like, you know, more solid, more. I don't know how to describe this, Dragon.
Well, the cool thing is that again, it's a mix of, again, because the ticket,
it's a mix of like it's a mix of like the spandex look with kind of like the body armor look that we've gone with, like the Shazam Zachary Levi like strongman look. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and the hook of the Tick is that he doesn't even himself, he doesn't know if he's wearing a costume or if
right.
just him. And again, it looks more perfectly ambiguous, so just most befitting of the Tick. Also, visual. Don't forget, we got to get the visual going here. Anyway, so speaking of just kind of classic stuff with the tick, talking about the costume stuff, just want to hit some classic beats with the tick here. Some just kind of classic kind of tick 101 stuff. There. Here's the episode 1 to me hit all the right. I think episode 1 was kind of a perfect reintroduction to the tick. As I mentioned a little bit too, is that when we set up the kind of the new status quo, we kind of had Arthur having a nightmare of recapping the first season. So again, we're kind of recapping things real naturally. So again, we're moving on from season 1, and now we're kind of like checking off some other kind of classic tick boxes. And believe me, folks, checking off boxes is like a huge plot point. At least it's a minor plot point in this season. Checking boxes.
So much paper, Arthur.
So speaking of,
let me get the root image back.
Yes. So speaking of paper and such, so again, we have like a lot of great kind of class. Basically, episode 1 was chock full of classic stuff with the tick, and I loved it, man. I like it's stuff I couldn't get enough of, and I just loved the kind of that first note we hit. So we do a lot of stuff that's kind of like akin to Tick versus Arthur's bank account from the animated show, where basically it's the classic idea that the tick is super in the crime fighting, which, as you imagine, Arthur kind of also coming to the crime fighting and losing the accountant job. Ordinarily he would run into money issues.
I love how we're so upfront about that. You know what I mean? It's like we don't waste half a season like, oh, Arthur's trying to keep his day job, but shenanigans because the tick is always interrupted. It's like, no, within literally like a scene or two, we've established a new status quo of like, all right, well, this is their life now, and it's like Dragon. I still have yet to go back and watch any of the live action show, the Warburton one. I'm sorry, but it does remind me of the animated show, because the animated show very much is just these two guys kind of as roommates, and fighting crime literally is just their day job.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right, too. I mean, again, we're kind of checking off yet another box of the whole, quitting the when he quits Fish Ladder and Sons. Which the only thing that would have made that perfect is if they could have gotten Christopher Lloyd back, because I mean, in the Patrick Warburton version, Christopher Lloyd is the boss who kind of gives him, Arthur, you don't want to be in a funny suit your whole life, do you? that whole thing. But no, they you're right, T. Absolutely agree. They address it from the outset, which kind of made it all the better. And importantly, we address some really smart things. We kind of add, and this to me, Tico was also kind of getting at too, is that I gotta be honest. I think this series might be the definitive Tick. That's a gutsy thing to say because the animated show is very much. I mean, I think this could be on the track of being the definitive Tick. Because I think we're kind of taking all the bits and pieces from all the Tick stuff, and we're kind of also kind of adding some smart analysis to it, and just kind of adding some smart layers to it, like stuff like Arthur's secret identity being outed with the whole 28th Amendment thing, where he addresses, well, foolishly, he was found out the job because because his first name's Arthur, and there was a guy named Arthur who pretty much only has like those goggles covering his face. It's pretty straightforward. Now he's fully in the life, and we kind of added the identity, so kind of much like the animated tickets, it's Tick and Arthur, and that's all there is. It's no like Arthur Evers. There's just kind of a little fact. Hey, his last name's Evers. What do you know?
I'll raise you something here, Dragon, with definitive Tick. I mean, right now, you're right. It's definitely on track. I mean, I'm not as much of an expert on the Tick, so I can't really say definitively one way or another. But I will say that if we get a season 3, and season 3 has to do two things, all right? It has to bring back the terror in a very satisfying kind of like Daredevil season 3-esque fashion.
And they mentioned at the very start of things the terror was like brought to the world court or something. So the terror is he's just been like he's been frozen, but he's been put somewhere.
And then also season 3, we need to get Chairface.
I want Chairface so bad. Okay, now here's the thing. Best case, I gotta be honest. I'm serious. I'm dying for an ending to a season to just introduce Chairface. I'm not expecting Chairface to be in season 3, but I want him to be introduced at the end of season 3 definitively. So in a perfect world, we can get a season.
Dragon,
4.
I think I really do think that you and I have kind of stumbled onto the same theory of how we make Chairface a reality in the series.
Oh yeah,
I think they kind of introduced it in a backhanded way.
They did, and it was really clever. But they did introduce another major Tick character. Well, they introduced the really famous, kind of a fan favorite Tick character in this season, which is kind of a little bit it's kind of at the end of the season. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So we do know who the big bad guy is going to be next season, if there is one.
Mm.
But Anyway, so let's see. So again, classic tick stuff. So again, the big thing we kind of set in motion here is like the tick versus paper. Just the tick can't wrap his mind around paper, whether it's money or bureaucracy. Just the tick is like his real enemy of this whole. See, the real villain of the whole thing, Tiki, is paper. I get that my favorite visual running gag I just kept laughing at throughout the season, though. I just love how much the tick drinking black coffee is the fact he just keeps drinking like coffee by the pot.
Right.
Like it's like pouring coffee for other people, and he's just like drinking it right from the coffee pot. It just cracks me up. I just love that as a plot. And then again, that just describing how money works to the ticks as well. You buy coffee, and we need coffee. It's the whole thing. So let's shift a little bit, just kind of spread out a little bit here before we get to kind of the my favorite part of the episode, the bank scene. Let's talk about some other characters. Let's talk about Overkill.
Yeah, I feel like Overkill and Dot definitely have the honor of being the most improved of the season, because it's not that I didn't like them in season 1. I like their dynamic, but I feel like they both kind of stuck to their archetypes, where Overkill was just kind of like this this Batman Punisher dark cop. I'm gonna pull a super academy, you know what I mean? Like, kind of gonna pull dark cop into that repertoire of characters. You know what I mean? He slid very comfortable into that archetype, and I feel like in season 2 they do a lot more to loosen him up and to kind of make him more relatable. And then Dot, we'll get to Dot in a bit. She kind of deserves her own section, but they very much. She's definitely probably the most improved overall. Because
I would absolutely agree with that. Dot was the big. I love Dot so much, but I didn't like her. She's fine the first season, but now I really loved her in this season. I thought Dot grew tremendously this season. But Overkill, on the other hand, I love that Overkill in episode 1 here. He has the Overman dilemma. If I can't kill, I'm Overman.
It's great. I love that they brought it back in such a major way. I wasn't really expecting that to be such a big plot point.
One of my favorite things in the first season was the ingenious idea of, okay, well, the tick's very anti-murder, and I love that about him. And he and Overkill would butt heads a lot, and of course he saves he saves Overkill's life, and he owes him a life debt, and of course the life debt is not to murder people. And again, if someone just because the fact that he can never save the tick's life because he's nigh invulnerable, he would have to honor that. He couldn't save his life, therefore he had to grant him that wish. And just
transforming the Punisher into Batman,
essentially, and it's great. Or Daredevil. I think Daredevil probably the more appropriate comparison, but sure. But that's the fact. I just love the fact that it's how desperate again. It's how desperate Overkill is. You're just like begging the tick, like, please let me kill people again. He's just so sad. And
that's what I'm saying, Dragon. Like right from the get-go, we see him in a vulnerable position, and this season is all about kind of showing Overkill's more vulnerable side while exposing Dot's more badass side, and I love that. I love that kind of back and forth trade-off those two get.
Of course, Tick tries to meet this vulnerability with a hug fight. I think what you need is a hug, and of course, like just hug fight. No, it's adorable. Of course, we also kind of just kind of dressed like to put the little flag, the little pin in the border here. Danger Boat. He was inviting Arthur. We didn't forget that Danger Boat has a thing for Arthur Everest. He's got a very.
How could we forget, Dragon? How could we forget that?
But more importantly, like we're putting in play that he really wants to watch Princess Bride with Arthur, but it's not just Princess Bride for no reason at all. It's Princess Bride for a very specific reason in Danger Boat's past. So
I love how that pays off, Dragon. Because it's like you think it's just like. Oh, it's like Danger Boat is trying to slip in like a romantic movie that's also kind of like a stoner comedy that Arthur would like.
Sure. All right, so speaking of Dot, just to kind of address a little bit here, we kind of set up Dot's kind of precog ability. The fact that she's kind of seeing events minutes. Basically, she's kind of like the Nick Cage movie Next. It's essentially what Dot's power is.
Cool.
So she's
ridiculous.
Essentially, she can see like a minute or two. It's kind of like a cross between Next and maybe the Omega 13 from Galaxy Quest. If you want to be really deep cuts about it, but let's just focus on Next. Anyway, point being, Dot can see a few minutes into the future, so she can see bad things happening. Therefore, she can avoid it if she in the moment. And she's kind of trying to figure out what that ability is right now. But on the whole, I absolutely agree. I got to tell you, I think she and Overkill are so darn cute together. It's like, oh my god, look at them, they're so cute together.
I mean, I gotta say, I think they have kind of like a Gamora Star-Lord thing going on.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of like a more Star-Lord thing. Yeah,
Because
it's only kind
like, by the end of this one, they don't kiss, but they kind of have like an embrace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they do have kind of there's kind of a well there's a certain runner, but we'll get to that. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about my okay, two things. One, I'll lump it into the last thing. Okay, so I want to talk about the bank scene. Oh my god, the bank scene is like
Well,
one of my
put a pin in that really quick.
okay.
I just want to plant another proverbial flag here with the parental figures, Joan and Walter. Dragon, first of all, mind-blowing thing that I figured out about Walter throughout all of season 1, it was bothering me because I'm like, I swear to God, I've seen this guy from somewhere, but for some reason it didn't. I didn't bother to look it up. And then, of course, season 2, Dragon, believe it or not, I swear to God, this show is kind of warped into a fabric of a lot of the DNA of other shows we like. Walter is another Lost alum.
Oh, goodness. And if you want to be really okay, you get ready for this. Okay, remind me. So Nestor Carbonell, was he in Lost?
Yes.
Okay, so of course, in the previous
Nestor Carbonell, Greg Grunberg was in Lost. He was the pilot. He got killed off almost immediately. But
and he's in there purely because he's J.J. Abrams' friend.
Of course. We have of course, we have Belle from Once Upon a Time. Bye-bye. I'm sure there's others.
That poor actress. Just you're so.
No, anyway. But Dragon, out of all the Lost crossover that we've had, this guy might be the coolest for me. So allow me to just geek out about Lost for literally like 1 minute.
Well, the funny thing is that Mr. Carbonell, he was in the other Tick as Batman. Well,
but so this guy plays a character that goes by a variety of aliases, but he's best known as Pierre Kang on Lost. And what this guy is known for is he's not really known for his in-character appearances in the actual story, but he's known for being in these weird, like, viral instructional videos left by the Dharma Corporation that look like they were filmed in, like, the 1970s, where this guy goes by, like, a variety of aliases, and he's like, hello, I'm Dr. Marvin Candle, speaking a part of the Hanso Corporation. And just, that's where kind of like the mythology of Lost burst open, Dragon, was with this guy. As soon as we saw this guy explaining like the polar bear cages and, you know, it was just kind of like, oh shit, the island is much more than just an island. Like there's a whole like initiative and scientific research facility that was here. You know what I mean? Like this guy was kind of like the bridge into some of the more heady sci-fi things that Lost would eventually get itself into. And he had a very good arc in season 5, which was the time travel season and the best season of Lost, in my opinion.
Sure.
All right, that was my minute to geek out about Lost. Back to the main program.
Okay, well, the point is...
Sorry, really quick about Walter. We get that great moment where Joan is talking over the phone, you know, basically something about like, I don't want anyone in this family keeping secrets. And then, of course, we get just that very quick shot of Walter looking guilty. And I love how that's just, you know, it's very brief, Dragon, but that's visual storytelling that I love, you know, because we know we're going to come back around to that.
Oh, yeah, and of course, Joan just trying to stay in her children's lives. And look, I love the fact that she keeps talking to the Tick on the phone on the regular. I think that's just delightful. All right, anyway, so, okay, bank scene. Man, the bank scene is like one of the lifelong things I want to see. Because basically, if you needed a thing right in episode 1, they just kind of shows you all the stuff I wanted to see on a Tick show and live action. It's like, yes, they got it. Bank scene 1, first and foremost, here's the real thing kind of checked off my bucket list for the Tick here. I just love it's such a mundane situation. Something you'd see in the animated show all the time, and I guess you saw in the Patrick Warburton show as well. But again, the animated show all the time. It's just the Tick and Arthur doing a mundane thing in decked out full costume. They're in the bank,
literally depositing his last paycheck from his job. Like, you know, he's explaining to Tick, like, well, Tick, like we need to this paper to last us a while now that I don't have a job.
Okay, well, two things also. I want to mention that with Arthur quitting his job, by the way. I love that we had that triumphant moment where he got to fly, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Funny thing is, he doesn't.
Elevator push dragon. The hesitation, like he almost pushes down, but then he pushes up.
Mm-hmm. You know, the funny thing is, Arthur doesn't only flies once in this entire season.
You know, that's funny you mentioned that because I was kind of noticing that as we were winding down. And like I said, Dragon, this season doesn't have the strongest ending. We'll get there, but
I disagree to an extent because I love the ending because I think the ending's like.
I'm not saying the ending. I'm not saying that per se. That's good. I'm saying episode.
You mean the climax, 10. Right?
It doesn't have the best episode 10.
Sure.
All right.
That's okay. Anyway, so okay, and back to the bank. So again, the bank. So one, we have a great. Just to give you an inkling, because I could be here all day talking about the pathos and how I'm so embroidered in the Tics arc this season. But I gotta tell you, so I love this bit where Arthur. I love how the Tic has grown as a character without changing who he is. But I love the Tic's a little bit more sensitive to how he's affecting Arthur. And I love these moments of kind of great. Of kind of guilt and just kind of like lamenting on the Tic here, where it's just the Tic for a moment there. He does feel, he doesn't know how to describe it, but he feels like, Arthur, I feel kind of hot and crinkly right now. Basically for having, he blames himself for, Arthur having to lose his job and everything because the whole dual identity thinks he gets what he wants, but he feels like Arthur is now suffering with money-wise because of things. But then we have this beautiful bit with Arthur takes responsibility. Hey, look, Tic, it's not your fault. I gave my first name out. This is literally my fault. But the thing that warms my heart, man, is when he says, in reference to his memory and about destiny. Arthur's retort is like, Tic, destiny could never forget you. Forget about you, Tic. Just thanks, chum. It's like one of those uplifting moments, man. It's so beautiful.
It's like a Hallmark card.
It is. There's so many beautiful Hallmark moments with either heroic or Hallmark moments with the Tic throughout this season. So again, all this is checking off my box already. Then it gets even better. It gets in the Spider-Man 2 territory, man, and it's great. We have the New England, we have kind of our New England. We have kind of our New England band of hoodlums here with the Lobster Gang, and we have seemingly led by Lobstercules. Basically, this giant. I love how they all show up in like kind of these poncho trash bag looking things.
It's a very like live action Ninja Turtles, like Raphael trenchcoat kind of look.
Yes, and I love the score and everything. We have this great battle. Episode 1, we're hitting it right off the bat where the Tic gets into a battle with this giant, awesome looking. It's a practical suit with like the only one they do like the weird kind of like little lobster, extra lobster hands. That's the only CG in this thing, man, because it's all practical. It's a great looking suit. So we have the Tic rips off the costume and we reveal Lobstercules, and it's a cool fight. And one of my favorite things in this on a rewatch is that we have this great payoff to the episode title here. So the episode title is Lesson 1, Think Quick, and we have kind of this runner at the beginning of the episode where the Tic is honing Arthur's danger sense with the kind of this. Oh, it's like Pink. It's like Kato from the Pink Panther, where the two of them will he'll attack him randomly. He says, "Arthur, think quick!" Basically knocks him across the room. And again, the payoff is here where he tells Arthur to think quick, and basically as the Tic propels this, Lobstercules throws this giant heavy bank vault at him. He just deflects it, and Arthur ducks instinctually thanks to that think quick. That's great.
Yeah, really good.
Oh, this is great. And there's by the way, there's a great little foreshadow here. Lobstercules runs into the ladies' bathroom.
Yeah, nice call.
Enters and leaves, exits to the ladies' bathroom. Again, it's a great little tell. Like again, just it's I don't know. Anyway, of course, the episode ends and believes this is their transition point. We end with the introduction of Tyrannosaurus Ty Rathbone, kind of our Nick Fury of the Tic here.
And I love the notion of like these these New England, like stereotypical like tough guys from Maine with a mutant lobster as almost like their mascot.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's their muscle. It's their answer. Again, it's kind of, if you want to look at it in kind of the existential way here, again, it's kind of the Dark Knight of it all, where, okay, so you introduce kind of a new element to crime, and of course, crime's going to, you're going to change the game. It's, escalation. It's the theory of escalation. You have Batman, taking down the mob. Next movie, you get Joker. It's kind of like this. Okay, so you have, Arthur, a human guy with, kind of the Tic next to him. Then you have kind of human crooks with kind of a Tic answer to that equation next to them. So, it's kind of a little bit of escalation in episode 1. Good stuff.
Sure.
All right, so episode 2, via Ty Rathbone, kind of our Nick Fury figure. We get to episode 2, which is all about Aegis and you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say up front, Dragon. Aegis was the part of the season that I was the most skeptical about, and I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised with the way it was handled. I really was. What I was worried about was that they were gonna pull off like kind of like they. I was worried that they were gonna go too quickly into the whole, like, oh, it seems like it's a good. Basically, it seems like it's a good fit for our heroes, but actually, it's really shady, and all the people there are evil. And Dragon, yeah, the main villain does come from Aegis, but I'm glad that it's an isolated incident. I'm glad that Tyrannosaurus Wrathbone, which by the way is a great name for a character. I'm glad that he's not our kind of like Waterloo style bad guy. You know what I mean? He has a sense of heroism to him, even though he's loud and boisterous and, kind of like an oorah type of guy. I don't know. I just thought that the Aegis stuff just really kind of subverted my expectations in a good way.
Yeah, and I can remember we had that kind of that ominous warning about Aegis at the end of the last season with Onward the Dog. Remember, he said, "Be careful, Big Brother's watching now." So again, Aegis Ball, for the most part, again, they are on the straight and narrow. Of course, with definitely a bad apple, that definitely gets to the heart of some stuff here. Aegis still is a bureaucracy that at the same time is kind of infringing on certain things. It is kind of the elitist club of superheroes. But by the same token, again, Arthur and Tic have kind of brought it back. So again, for good or bad, Aegis is back in a big way. And I love that episode 2 starts with kind of the orientation kind of cartoon, the orientation short film, which basically establishes that Aegis is Aegis is actually a translation of shields. I believe it's like translates the shield, and it stems from Greek myth, hence the logo on Aegis. That's kind of the idea. It's like a shield from the monsters of Greek myth, hence the Aegis of it all there. So again, pretty much it's kind of like imagine this. The best comparison I have for Aegis is like imagine like a DMV for superheroes meets Shield. That's kind of what Aegis is. If Shield married the DMV or the whatever the new acronym is anyway. So,
but Dragon, I don't think the DMV makes such exquisite croissants.
No, they do not.
All right, I'm gonna just say it right here. The croissants are my favorite runner in the season.
Yeah, the croissants are great.
I feel like those were the showstopper.
God, and of course, remember Tiki. Remember the secret to the croissants. Remember
the butter.
Yes, the nano butter. It's the nano butter. That's the secret, man.
Like I feel like that bit was just like the most Tic thing in the entire season, because it's just like everyone is just going gaga over these pastries, man. It almost turns into like a major plot point. Yes.
Okay, so let's see. So we meet Dr. Agent Hobbs, who again is kind of the seemingly friendly scientist and kind of our guide to Aegis, kind of 101 here. He kind of leads us around the place, kind of gives us the orientation, kind of the puts our guys through their paces here. And essentially the framework a lot of this is Arthur's dream, and I love how this pays off, because as we saw way back in episode 1 of season 1, Arthur's dream as a kid, back when his father was alive, was to be a member of the Flag Five. Of course, on that very day, the Flag Five gets killed, and of course, their ship kills his father. Very tragic. Of course, his father being a pilot is the greatest irony of all, which is tragic. Killed by a flying ship. That's just anyway. Point being, I just love that that promise to his father is kind of what drives his motivation to want to be part of Aegis and specifically kind of be on the track of becoming a member of the new Flag Fives. I mean, I love that as a motivation for Arthur. He's really a go-getter this season. Again, he's kind of put the tragedy of his father's death behind him, and now he's trying to honor his father in season 2. I think that's a really good arc for him.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, and I love that Tic supports this, without question. And of course, because he knows what happened to his father and everything. But of course, Tic supporting his buddy anyway, and of course, he's going to support him despite all this paper. And speaking of which, I love there's it's funny, but at the same time, there's a little bit of tragedy. It's the beautiful friendship between these two guys. It's almost like kind of like I was going to lay out probably a bad Better Call Saul comparison, but I'm just going to let that lie on the floor right now. Point being, I love just kind of this kind of open relationship they have where, the Tic, of course, he has the memory problems, and of course Arthur recognizes, oh, Tic, I'm sorry, I'm a little insensitive of me. You having to subject to all this paperwork about your past and everything you can't recall. So again, this to me feels like a Daredevil season 2 to season 3 thing. We're going to pay things off in a season 3 with the Tics memory, perhaps, where season 2 is just still kind of in the air. You know, it's kind of like in addition, maybe like another kind of Kingpin or like a Maggie, kind of a Maggie Murdoch sort of thing. You know, like we're going to pay that off. We're going to tease it up a little bit here and there. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole like, oh look, how convenient, a box for systemic memory loss. All right, so we have the testing. We have kind of the various tests that kind of prove a category. So we learned that there's a category machine, which basically kind of it's kind of like how the X-Men works. Basically, you are a mutant category where it kind of lists you off as like, you know, category 1 to category 4 or so, depending how powerful or how many powers you got, like how mundane the powers are, stuff like that. So you basically he subjects you to a category machine where you have to drink barium, by the way. And then there's the arm wrestling strength tester, which I think is hysterical.
Yeah, that was a great scene. That kind of like illustrates perfectly the dichotomy between Arthur and the Tick.
Yeah, but again, the objective is not to win. The objective is just like I've seen this gag in like Dragon Ball Z all my life, where it's okay, we have the super strong character go up against like the punching bag machine or something like that, and of course, just our super strong character just rips the arm off. Arthur, I'm avenging you! Just rips it off. So the point being, I love that after all this, again, Arthur fails abysmally at these tests, and of course he's a human guy, so what can you expect? But importantly, I love that we give a solid, very practical reason why Arthur gets accepted, at least gets the Aegis membership, because you know the Tick is a package deal with Arthur. He keeps tabs on him. He can kind of control and kind of placate the Tick. Therefore, he gets the okay.
And this is what I'm talking about in terms of sort of like subverting those expectations, because when Tyrannosaurus kind of like lays out the whole like, oh, keep tabs on him, I'm like in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, oh, are they like kind of going for like a, like, are they going to try and brainwash the Tick or something like that? It's like, no, nothing comes up of it. And like, really, Tyrannosaurus, like he very much is a man of his word, where he's talking like, no, I'm not talking about, spying. I'm talking about keeping tabs. I'm talking about like, basically spotting him, making sure he's okay, making sure he's, he's on the narrow.
Yeah.
And I really like that. You know what I mean? It's like they're sort of like, we almost expect a character like this to be two-faced, and I feel like that's going to make a rewatch kind of rewarding.
But of course, he is hiding a secret, which we find out by episode 10. But anyway, no, you're right. There, he's on the. As far as he's concerned, he's on the narrow, but he is holding one secret that apparently he is. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. Anyway, let me focus on this. So I do want to say that you take an ordinary superhero show like Arrow, for example. Arrow, if you had this plot point on Arrow, what would happen is then you'd have the big liar reveal episode where it's like, I can't trust you anymore. And again, that legitimately for a moment, I wondered, I won't trust you until the big climax of the season where we have to team up again. That's sort of stupid BS.
That would suck if they did that with Arthur and Tick.
See, for a moment, I wondered if
so bad.
No, I didn't think they were going to go that bad Arrow stuff with it. But for a moment, I'm saying because I'm used to that sort of thing. What I did think they were going to do, and I was so pleasantly surprised they didn't do this, is that I thought, okay, Tick's very much on the straight and narrow this season, where it's about he's really anti-lying. It's going to be Arthur, you lied to me. You're basically keeping the secret to me. I was thinking it was going to be more of a heartbreaking Tick thing, where it's like, I mean, they would have probably had me on it, but I'm glad we didn't go there, because then that would have ate up episodes. That's why they didn't do that.
It's literally a non-issue.
Exactly.
And I like that kind of stuff.
And it complements Rathbone, which of course is all relative, so it all works. All right, so let's see. Let's see. Get into the
we need to talk about the Superion stuff.
Yes, Superion. So Superion is he's in a downward spiral. Again, this is a great. It's basically what we're doing. Superion this season is he's kind of I'll save that for episode 3. Let's say on the whole here what Superion's going on here is that Superion's on a downward spiral with E. Morgan Pearl, who's kind of like his J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes, exactly.
Has a mustache and everything, just J. Jonah Jameson. And, basically he's getting a lot of backlash for like, yeah, you said the terror was gone. We found his teeth, man. Of course, the idea was it was kind of like a Megamind thing, where he's just a little lazy and he wanted kind of an out for the terror. It's like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, of course he's dead, right? I mean, he just didn't pursue it. It's like, he didn't know for certain. He just assumed, well, I mean, I took down the spider tank and there's teeth. He's gone, so why not? Yeah.
That's what So Superion's kind of just mostly on the sidelines in the season. I feel like they're mostly just kind of setting him up for season 3. It's interesting. Superion's kind of like an interesting character where he's never really been that involved with the main plot, but he's always kind of like a big sort of like almost Deus Ex Machina. But he's better than a Deus Ex Machina because he's a Deus Ex Machina with character development and logic behind him. Like I said, he very much is kind of like that Dr. Manhattan type figure, except just a lot more silly.
Well, the greater thing about it, Tiki, is that Superion is kind of the gag on superheroes versus the Taken Arthur, where again he's the glory hound, where again he's the all powerful one, but he's just useless. He's just really useless and does nothing to affect the plot. It's such an Edelin idea of like, okay, what if you had this character who essentially is kind of Superman plus? Remember, he has like these extra useless powers, like he can flavor coffee. Remember, he can flavor pumpkin spice coffee.
God.
But I mean, in addition to that sort of stuff, there's the fact that he's again, you have this all-powerful character just completely useless, and he's neurotic and everything this season. It's just the fact that this guy, and he's again, we show he's even more powerful. Well, I don't want to get into the semantics of the Superman, of all the fact that he can hear everything in the world simultaneously.
Right.
And again, he's kind of useless. And again, he's sitting
there on Pluto.
Exactly. He's just he's just sad, is sitting in his hotel room, just looking at negative comments online about him. I mean, there's no perfect metaphor. There's no better metaphor than that. So let's see. Okay. So we learn with Overkill. So Overkill, this episode, we learn why Overkill is on the outs with Aegis, because he's very paranoid and he wants to head at it. He wants to get out of Dodge when Aegis is back in town fully functional. He wants to get back to Danger Boat and get out of there, and basically reveals to Dot that, Tyrannosaurus Wrathman was a big mentor to him, almost a father figure to him, and he patched him up after the Flag 5, straight shooter, the big hoopla that went down last season. And basically he fixed him up, gave him the robot hands and the robot eyes. That was all Aegis, and they basically kind of turned. Essentially, they turned. It's kind of Bucky into the Winter Soldier. It's essentially the story of Overkill for all intents and purposes. They, they kind of fixed him up, gave him some robot parts, and they kind of put him on kind of an assassin squad, the Perseus Squadron. And there was a mission where it went south, his whole team ended up dead, and he kind of disappeared in a hurricane, which gave the impression that, he was involved with the Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the Duke's going to be really important. The Duke! So anyway, so the point is he's very much on the outs of Aegis, and he's been laying low until last season, so that's why he wants to get out of Dodge. And Dot's just, well, wait, you never talked to him about this? Like, you never explained yourself? And again, it's kind of the classic, like, wait a minute, why can't we just talk things out? What do we got? Pretty much kind of, to me, it's like, yeah, why can't Batman be Superman have more talking in it? Why can't we just be punching, being angry, and being moody all throughout that movie? Why can't we just have Batman, Superman? I don't know.
Again, it's kind of like the classic thing where it's like, instead of that 10-minute fight scene, what Superman should have done is just swoop down and been like, wait, let me explain. Luther's manipulating both of us and we need to work together.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, maybe a conversation that didn't end in "Do you bleed?" Like, I don't know, maybe. Look, and again, "Do you bleed" could have been a good line, but why couldn't it just be? I don't know, maybe don't land.
All right. No, we're going down the Batman versus Superman.
Right. Well, we're gonna have to dip into it in the next.
Don't make me bring up Martha.
All right, fine. The point being, we have to bring up at least the Superman half of it in the next episode. So we'll put a pin in it right now. Anyway,
right.
Okay, let's see. Last thing, I guess, is oh yes. So Lint. Lint. So again, she escaped in the kind of the lowercase t part of the T ship. In itself is funny. So Lint, in the meanwhile, she has a plan to kind of thrive, and now the Aegis is back. Where again, I think it's very telling. Overkill wants to run from Aegis, and she wants to thrive, and now the Aegis in kind of Aegis country, as it were. Where she has a plan to do that. She has a plan using her new tech guy, Edgelord. So again, like Frank knows the guys. I love
Edgelord Dragon. He's my favorite new character of the season.
We meet him properly next episode. So let's start off with episode 3 is unless you got anything else on 2.
Nope.
Episode 3 is Hot Beige. The episode tells are really funny, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Really,
I gotta tell you, Dragon, this is I'm not saying this one's bad. I'm saying that this one might be the one that kind of bleeds together the most for me going back on it. It's like most of the rest of them have kind of standout moments. This one's kind of just like, all right, it's kind of like a point A to point B kind of thing.
I mean, honestly, Tiki, I got to be honest. I think they all they all stand out. I just think episodes 9 and 10 are the ones that, to me, I guess, bleed together. I think everything else that does pretty much stand out because episode 1's kind of classic Tick stuff. Episode 2 is all about Aegis. Episode 3 is the undercover episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. We do get some fun undercover stuff. I'm just saying, like, episode 4 to me really stands out because that's like
the
episode.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I think I would argue that for the most part, the season has episodes like that all throughout it. But I mean, we'll see how much that sticks as we go through it, I guess. But anyway, so episode 3.
I guess I'm just saying that the undercover stuff maybe isn't as stand out as some of the other stuff that, like,
well, sure. I mean,
model episode or introducing Aegis. It's out of the first 4, I think it's the least spectacular.
I'll give you that. It's no episode 4. I'll give you that. Anyway, so Hot Base, so primarily this one's the undercover. I call it the all finesse episode because I always love that mantra in the Tick where it's all about, little finesse. That's kind of what Arthur brings to the table that the Tick has to comprehend. You little finesse with situations. So just kind of going in and being shot at and punched and everything. So we start the episode with the Guatemala. Let's talk about, so this is where we're getting some more of the Superion stuff here. The Guatemalan temple chat here where they want to have breakfast, coffee and breakfast at.
This is a great cold open.
So basically this is where we get to really Superion's issue the season. So Superion, he's basically, it's like, what if the Superman in the BVS, like what if the BVS Superman dealt with the PR crisis? What if he's proactive in dealing with the PR crisis, but dealing with it with a super ego in all the wrong ways? It's like
I mean, he already didn't handle that situation very well, Dragon.
I'm saying, what if he proactively handled it, but in a negative way, in the worst way? Like, just like that's the thing. Like, what if he just people? It's like, what if he just reacted to negative criticisms of BVS? Right? Yeah, he just people don't like me.
That's kind of what, like the Moni. Okay, we're going down a rabbit hole here, but
but seriously, that's what I'm saying. Though I think it's
kind of you're basically pitching like the brooding, like pre-Justice League Henry Cavill Superman somehow exists in the real world and wants to take revenge on the negative Batman vs Superman reviews. Is that what you're throwing out right now?
In a way, yes. But what I'm really saying is that, again, I think Edlund's just being really smart because Edlund's kind of the master with the Tick in general. Ben Edlund's constantly parodying superheroes and making fun of like stuff going on. Of course, the first season we were kind of mocking the Netflix stuff, with kind of the Daredevils and making the suit practical and everything, and all that. That was great. It was clever.
By the way, whatever happened to that reboot of Rocko's Modern Life? Because I just remembered the dark and gritty, really, really, really big man. Is that still happening?
Well, the Rocco thing, it's I remember there was a short. And I wonder if it was. Part of me wonders. I hope it was just more than just that short. I hope it was like a full episode because I saw that like the opening.
I thought it was a movie.
I did too, but again, I think we're trailing off right now.
Yeah, we are. Anyways,
but you're right though. Again, I think we might have been gypped on that. I don't know.
I'm just saying it just kind of disappeared off the radar a little bit.
You're right. Anyway, so what I'm getting is I think the Edlund, of course, this season I think is kind of mocking a little bit more of the of the superhero movies, and I think he's definitely kind of holding a mirror up to the kind of the DC of then here, where we have like kind of a lot of those DCEU problems with kind of Superman and Batman, kind of the superheroes, basically putting Superman under a microscope.
The wise man in the Batman versus Superman screening told me, Dragon, it's going to be a brood off.
In essence, yeah, and he's just kind of holding a mirror.
Brood the most.
I think he's just kind of holding up a clever mirror to like, what about the aftermath and the PR nightmares that Superman would have to deal with that we didn't see him deal with in BVS like we all hoped he would. Like, hey, you fought Zod and there was a lot of property damage. And remember, Batman got really mad at you. Are we going to address it? No, it's all about that hoopla went down Africa.
Oh God!
Yeah, just forget all the.
All right, fucking A. Why does Batman versus Superman have to be so memeable? God damn it!
Okay, anyway, so
literally every part of Batman versus Superman is entertaining to talk about, but so bad.
Okay, but you see what I'm saying there, right?
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Okay, so anyway, so basically Superion kind of elects Arthur to be his therapist, and the interesting thing about this is that Superion is kind of forcing a Tick and kind of a Tick and Arthur dynamic with himself, and we're seeing that these two just do not match together because Superion, in contrast to the Tick, he doesn't take any lesson away from Arthur because at his core he doesn't. A part of him respects Arthur, but he doesn't really value Arthur. I think that's what the key is, where the Tick truly does value.
He just kind of like takes everything that Arthur says and just kind of does whatever he wants and takes what Arthur says and twists it into his own justification.
Yes, essentially. Basically, like, and I know you're not really privy to this sort of thing, but it's like kind of like what Lucifer was on a daily basis, where Lucifer goes to his therapist, and basically from the show Lucifer, he goes to his therapist, and his therapist will basically bring up an excellent point about himself, and he'll turn into like kind of a misadventure to have during the main plot. Where it's like, so you're saying I'm this about myself, okay? And he says, no, that's not what I meant at all. And of course, you say,
is the show really like formulaic like that? Like
it's not. It's really no. There's like all the loose. Just trust me, it's good. Just check it out. Anyway,
like, hey, Dr. House discovered the cure. Like at the 45-minute point.
It's self-aware about it. Lucifer makes fun of the fact that it's kind of formulaic, but it's anyway. So like basically Lucifer keeps things interesting. But anyway, let's get back to the tick here. Anyway, unless you got anything else about kind of the Superion chat at the start here.
No, I'm good for now.
All right, so let's talk about Stephen Ogg. Let's talk about Flexon.
Yeah, I love this guy. He's got kind of like a Jack Nicholson vibe.
Flexon, of course, we Better Call Saul connection right here with Stephen Ogg. Remember, he was Trevor, the gun guy from Pimento of season 1 of Better Call Saul, and of course, big fame from Grand Theft Auto. It's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
speaking of Jack Nicholson, Dragon, where is Jack Nicholson? Is he retired?
I mean, he said he was retired. I don't know if he's like ever plans on coming out of retirement, but
he is. Okay, I didn't know.
I heard the word on the street was he had an eyesight problems because he couldn't not an eyesight problem. He couldn't memorize a lot. He had memorization problems. That's why he had.
Oh, that's a shame. All right, and
again, that's a rumor though. We don't know that verbatim. That's like what the belief is.
Yeah, that's sad if that's true. God,
they're still going to Lakers games and stuff. So it's just Jack living up though. So good for Jackie. Anyway. So, Flexon, though.
With me though that this guy's got kind of like he's got kind of like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest Jack Nicholson, like 70s Jack Nicholson vibe to him.
I think look-wise, yeah. I mean, look-wise,
that's kind of just in the look.
In the look, sure, he's got kind of like the frazzle and kind of the big teeth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a bit of a Nicholson thing on it. But with Flexon here, I love that Flexon is kind of again another example of kind of Tick 101, very much like the Patrick, kind of like the Patrick Warburton show, as well as the animated show here. The idea of like now we're in a world of heroes, and we have heroes like Flexon, who just like literally just kind of puts on his costume. He's out of the business. He's retired, and he goes in there just to get the croissants and access to the lounge. That's the only reason, and that's something like Batman from Patrick Warburton Tick. The Nestor Carbonell character, he would go in there for do that sort of thing. There, where he just wants little to no work, where he just wants the free stuff.
Oh,
So anyway, so Tick and Arthur, they want to foil the Spreevil. Spree of evil. Spreevil. That's a good line. Anyway, so as Tick and Arthur are going to foil the Lobstercules of Spreevil, they get some really valuable advice from Flexon. Valuable advice is to kind of squeeze there's always a guy at the docks. You squeeze a guy at the docks, and how do we find the guy? Well, you give him the look. The look, yeah. You just look at the guy, and just if he starts getting shifty or starts to run, that's your guy. And it works flawlessly. It's a great plan. I gotta be honest. It's like, yeah, there is always a guy at the docks who knows somebody. Again,
like, hey, there he is. Or I'm sorry, in the immortal words of I've been waiting all week to work this into something. In the immortal words of Eric Estrada in Cool Cat Saves the Kids, there he is.
Oh God. You waited all week for that one. I love the Tick interrogating. Of course, he's not really not an intimidating guy, but he has the strength and everything. Where they ask him a question, he says, "Yeah, I didn't do nothing." Of course, Tick's Arthur, I don't know, how should I proceed? And of course, he's just asking him a question. Of course, he says, "I know my rights," and the Tick just like slams him against the thing. That's not our question. Oh, it's just great. Anyway, so they get a tip on their guy here, and this leads to the undercover work. And before we get to the undercover work, let's talk about Overkill for a moment here. So the Overkill has a sniper chat with Rathbone. So they have in essence they have kind of a chat via sniper, basically, hey, no false moves, buddy boy. Again, these two, they definitely have a history, and basically he's pleading his innocence with Rathbone. And he reveals, like, look, if we have evidence saying the Duke's still alive, I decapitate him. Yet you decapitate him, but he's not. Does decapitated mean dead? No. Apparently, decapitated doesn't mean dead. Now, I'm assuming you and I are basically on the begin our tracks at this point, don't we?
Sure, sure.
Yep.
Dragon, in the immortal words of Luke Skywalker, no one's ever really gone.
I know where you got that from.
We'll talk about that after the
show. We will. But yeah, seriously. So the fact is, Overkill has a chance to redeem himself in Rathbun's eyes, clear his name, prove his innocence, that sort of thing, by basically, kind of finding the Duke, who apparently is still operating. So
yeah.
That begins kind of Overkill's story for the season. But anyway, getting back to the undercover work. So we have Arthur. So again, I love this. So with the undercover work, of course, we're not quite there yet. I don't know if we're ever going to be, because again, the show is a little bit more grounded than the Tick animated series. One of these days, Tiki, maybe we'll see the Tick dressed as a waiter. The Tick undercover,
right.
But looking like, because when they said undercover for a moment, I was thinking, are they going to? Would they?
Might, Dragon. I honestly wouldn't put it past the show to pull that off. I really wouldn't, with how meta the Tick characterization gets at certain points.
Yeah. So basically, right now, the Tick's going on. So Arthur's going undercover as the accountant, which in itself is kind of clever there. So just kind of going out of costume, and we're making the most of Arthur out of costume. It's not just like he happens to just not be wearing the costume. It's kind of like
the sequel to that really good underrated Ben Affleck movie.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. Anyway, so the account actually works. I love this season. I gotta be honest. Arthur has a great game this season, man. He's really suave without meaning to. I mean, he's good in the undercover situation. Again, he's really hitting it off with the ladies this season too.
He is, and I was kind of oblivious to the fact that he's hitting it off with the ladies.
I think he's really humble about it. I love it, man. It's great. So he's chatting up with Donnie Donnelly, and he's getting to know him, getting to know the operation stuff. He bluffs him, man. He out bluffs Donnelly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I love that for the most part, Arthur's arch enemy this season is just this large fisherman from New England. But he's still this really big, imposing guy. Because he kind of has a runner with this guy as his arch enemy. It's kind of fun.
I mean, again, Dragon, I feel like.
Again, it's not okay. I'm not saying it's not like
it's one character. It's just obviously it's not the terror. And you know what? In some ways, I kind of respect the fact that they didn't try and do another big bad. Instead, I feel like this is almost kind of like a reversal of that kind of thing, where it's instead of the terror, it's literally just some Joe Schmo criminal from New England who's basically a walking stereotype.
If you want to get all philosophical about it, you could say Arthur's put terror behind him. He's now braver, and he's facing no more terrors in the world, at least as far as he's concerned right now. But the real terror lies under his nose, within the recesses of Aegis. One could say.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Anyway, so let's see. All right. So anyway, we have Lint and Edgelord. Let's talk about Lint and Edgelord.
All right, so like I said, I love Edgelord. I think he's by far the best new character of the season.
So to describe Edgelord.
Maybe Rathbone has the better arc, but this guy is just conceptually, I just really love him.
What do you love about him?
Well, what I love about him is I feel like he's the type of character where it's I'm surprised that literally a character named Edgelord never came up on a Super Academy stream, Dragon, because it feels like such a natural fit. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm getting kind of a Kylo Ren vibe from this guy.
Well, you know what? He looks like he could be like the stunt double of a stunt double of Kylo Ren of Adam Driver. Maybe he has a bit of an Adam.
He's like Kylo Ren mixed with early 2000s Tim Burton, Johnny Depp. Ooh, I'm all dark and artsy.
It's it's kind of like the love child of Adam Driver and Tim Burton. That's kind of
right.
That was his Edgelord. He's got kind of a dry delivery. He serves a good plot purpose here. Again, he's kind of the Lint's answer to Arthur to an extent here. Lint has a clever idea here. She's going to put on a super suit and then kind of parade around as a superhero, so she can kind of fly under the radar of Aegis here. And again, it's really clever use of the 28th Amendment, just like Arthur did, where again she can't be unmasked, or else again basically it's a clever thing within the Tick universe. 28th Amendment protects you from being unmasked, so you protect your loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a clever way she can fly under the radar. No one can really say anything against that. And again, she's all she needs is like the Aegis card, which she gets in the next episode. So she's all she's card up and official, and the Edgelord gives her this. Hey, what do you think about the new look, about the armor? I like it.
Oh, Lynn's armor? Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, and again, like has the lightning thing. Of course, kind of fits into the old tics, like angry lightning lady. But yeah, so of course she's going by Joan of Arc too. That's her super name. And basically she tests out her suit by kind of busting the casino and busting kind of the rival crime lord who runs the casino. And we have this great bit in the alley, by the way, where the tick is just kind of waiting anxiously. I want to be in there, man, because he wants to be undercover and be in there, but. He finds the edgelord in the alley, and he approaches him like a wayward lost youth. Hello, lost youth. You should be in an alley, in a seedy alley like this. Give him like an old, like a '60s Batman PSA, and it's great. Just to this dry teen, he's like, "I'm busy right now. I'm on business." What if the tick met Elliot Alderson or something? That's kind of like.
Oh God! Right. That is pretty much what it is.
You have a sister. My friend Arthur has a sister. What do you know? Anyway, you see imaginary people too? Arthur thought I was an imaginary person. Anyway. You like the music of Queen? I don't know a Queen. I know the Paper Queen. Anyway, getting back on point here.
Paper Queen? What?
Yeah, the Paper Queen in the season. The Queen, Freddie Mercury Queen. Anyway.
Wait, what does that have to do? What does Freddie Mercury have to do with paper?
Mr. Rowe.
You lost me. I'm sorry.
Queen has. Rami Malek played Freddie Mercury, hence the Queen, hence the Queen reference, and the Paper Queen is what Tick's saying Paper Queen all throughout the season.
Oh, Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Paper Queen. Right. Okay, I gotcha. My bad.
Anyway, so
I watched this all in one sitting, so some of the running gags kind of gel together a little bit. My bad. All right. Anyways,
then we have the bit. We have a little tease at Rathbone here. So Rathbone, as Tick pointed out, he has like this gas cap heart. So basically, within the gas cap heart, he basically feeds a mouse into it, and we reveal that he has a black hole for a heart. So just Ty Rathbone got a little bit more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the end of episode 3. Let's get to episode 4. Big one here. Oh boy, episode 4.
Yeah, this is basically the bottle episode of the season, and it might be my favorite.
Yeah, this is the big Danger Boat payoff episode, and very much the bottle. Again, it's for the most part, it's a bottle episode for our main characters, but it's basically for at least an act or so, it's a bottle episode. But it's we see a bit of the outside and what leads into the bottle. So it's bottle episode-ish in a big way.
Yeah, and I don't know, Dragon, just episodes like this just tend to be among my favorites. Like, Fly is definitely in my top 5 of Breaking Bad. It's like, for some reason, I really think that confined locations just lead to really good storytelling. And of course, this also has like a ticking clock element on top of it.
Yeah, so right off the bat, the Tick, again, in setting up the whole, one of the themes of the season here, the Tick is very optimistic versus someone like Overkill is very cynical here, where the Tick is hopeful that Miss Lint is on the path of becoming a hero, and he puts into play the whole idea that this season's about kind of heroes in a transitional phase. They have like heroes who are kind of turning villainous, or vice versa, with like her going from villain to hero. Again, it's for villainous purposes initially, but again, she's on the path, and you have Superion is going on kind of a villainous path right now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Superion, just the whole thing with Devil's Tower. So I'm sure Spielberg's like really upset in the universe of the Tick right now. Well, look what he did to Devil Tower.
I gotta say, Dragon, it is legitimately creepy, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. It's just so misguided and so stupid. And
just think if that happened in real life. If in real life suddenly one of our national landmarks was just like carved over in the form of like this giant monument.
Again, here's the weird thing though. It's kind of like I don't mean to use such a morbid reference, where you have something kind of destructive like a 9/11, which of course is always going to be something missing. And it's always going to be gone again. But you have something kind of more complicated where you have, well, it's there, but it's kind of different, it's that's the thing. It's a word again. Well, it's not destroyed, but it's kind of defaced. But it's a sculpture. Is it? I don't know.
I don't know, man. You like again. I just be freaked out as hell by it.
Well, I mean, again, if it was done by a guy with heat vision, definitely be freaked out by like, oh my god, he's on a whim, he just transformed like. What if he gave Washington a mustache, man, like something like that?
Well, my whole thing is like, what if he like transformed one of the faces on Mount Rushmore into himself?
Well, sure. I mean, that's been kind of cliche. Like, okay, we've seen that's been done before.
Well, I know that's been done before, but I'm just saying if it happened in real life, it'd be like, you know, a little unsettling. Anyways.
Anyway. But yeah, so the idea is we have kind of a cause and effect build up with Superion's arc throughout the season. It's basically he's making more and more unstable decisions, which leads to kind of a really he almost makes a very fatally unwise decision by the end of the season. He always makes a really reckless decision because of like these little midlife crisis moves he's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. So beyond that, Dot and Overkill, they're teaming up on the Duke mission, and importantly, Dot brings up the fact that, as we saw, Dot saved Overkill's life, which means Overkill also owes her a life debt, and again, her being on Overkill's side here, and Overkill being in crisis, like, I can't kill anyone. She brings up, well, I could just unwish the Tic's wish, which, is a really clever loophole, and he's the happiest boy on earth once she unwishes the wish. Overkill can kill again. Murder's in his wheelhouse yet again, makes things easier. So, they're
again, even though it's like a dark character development that he can kill again, it's handed in such a boyish way.
Yeah, and meanwhile, so again, what kind of brings all of our guys together here is Tick and Arthur. Basically, Arthur yet again had Donnie slip through his fingers, but not his shoe. Arthur got his shoe. So, Arthur has the shoe and he wants to have Danger Boat run the analysis on it. While they're doing this, at Aegis, they saw other Danger Boats. Apparently, a Danger Boat is kind of an Aegis regulation vehicle. And again, this is a Ben Edlund thing, where we have just these odd things. There's odd for the sake of being odd and funny, where boats can fly in the Edlund verse apparently. So they asked. So Tix is going to ask him very cavalierly, "Hey, Danger Boat. We saw your brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters. We thought about this. Yes, they flew. I mean, what? Why can you fly?" And of course, Danger Boat essentially has kind of like, "I will go sailing no more" kind of dilemma here, where he goes into a where he goes into a meltdown. And of course, as everyone's now on board Danger Boat, he's kind of having a meltdown right now. And basically, they're all trapped in there as we reveal that they're going to be incinerated and kind of cleansed in 3 hours. Because of Danger Boat's PTSD after the death of his previous partner, Michael, who, by the way, I'm convinced Michael has to be a Knight Rider reference, doesn't it?
It's got to be, yeah. You would think, because I think the whole idea of Danger Boat is like kind of a kid thing.
That's the thing. It's got to be. It's gonna be ridiculous if it's not like Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're all at each other. And this is the genius of the bottle episode right here. This is why this episode stands out. Again, this might be the best episode of the season. Quite possibly, it might be. We have this ingenious thing where all of our characters are at each other's throats, and they're having with the exception of Arthur and the Tick. The point is we have our two sides against each other, and I love right off the bat the Tick can sense murder on Overkill. Says, there's something different about you over here. He's like shifting his eyes.
It's almost like a mom who's like, I know what marijuana smells like, young man.
Essentially something like you were out late last night, weren't you, Overkill? Essentially, he's just like shifting his eyes and says, you smell murder. Well, we know you're not going to kill anyone on this mission. Like, I could, though. Says, really? And of course, so the Tick has a very paternal thing going on this season, and I dig it, man. I dig it like no tomorrow. Where the Tick, he's informed that he's broken his promise, but then Dot reveals, no, I unwished it. And of course, I look, Dorothy Everest. He's just so. He's so Papa Spank this season, and I love it. I just love this here. Where again, like the Tick's very, he's disappointed in Dot, and of course Dot's kind of firing back, like, who are you to say you're an amnesiac who's dictating how things should be? And of course, like Arthur's leading to the Tick's defense. They're all kind of bickering with each other here. And again, so I love this with the essence of this bottle thing, where they're all heated and on opposite sides of what's going on here. And of course, Arthur this season is on the. Arthur and Dot
this close to telling the Tick that he murdered Jane.
Okay. Okay, but all seriousness, so Arthur and Dot are kind of the shoes on the other foot this season with them. Where now Dot's kind of in Arthur's headspace, where she's kind of doing the reckless thing that now Arthur's kind of speaking out against.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where they are this season. Points while they're all bickering, Danger. They reveal the whole countdown thing. And of course, I think the best choice in this whole thing, my favorite choice in this whole episode, was the MacArthur Park song. I just love this. One, it's a great background thing. I don't know why the song complemented the scene so perfectly. We have MacArthur Park playing, and what I love more so in Tiki, it's a great moment of Peter Serafinowicz impressed. Again, I already love Peter Serafinowicz in this role, and he got even better in this episode. He did something I can't stop thinking about because it's my new favorite tick bit. I don't know why. It's just this, like last season's the whole terror. If you pull that trigger, I'm going to hurt you. It's like that was a big intense moment.
Yeah.
And this is like the new moment for me here, where the tick, as the MacArthur song is playing, basically, he reveals like the tick can't just rip off the doors and just kind of get everybody out of there. It's just like, no, if you do that, he's gonna panic and we're all gonna be incinerated. And so everything but the faux ham is gonna be incinerated. And then basically, the tick is then panicking. We've never seen the tick panic. And the tick just kind of runs up to the danger boat's kind of little camera feed, and he's like, "Come on, DB, snap out of it! Stop this stupid cake song!" That's the thing. I just love that. One of the ticks is bothered by this cake song, essentially because MacArthur Park's it's a long song, and hence the reason they probably chose so they can play it over a lot of scenes.
People choose to eat cake with spoons, Dragon.
True. But also, it's just the fact it's like cake being it's a really sad song about this happy thing, cake just being left out in the rain. It's a sad cake song. I don't know, it's a perfect random choice, and I just love that the tick can't stand it. The fact being played on it's really depressing. It's the same thing over and over again. So then so
just like the ridiculous meta sensibilities of this character really well.
Oh, I forgot to mention the name of the episode because this will transition us into what big bit in the episode. The episode's called Blood and Cake.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the flashback. Why don't you tell the folks about the flashback?
Oh God! Oh yeah. Right. The Princess Bride thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So Michael and the Love Boat, or I'm sorry, not Love Boat.
Love Boat.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of 80s TV shows now.
Knight Rider meets Love Boat.
Michael and Danger Boat. We see him just kind of Michael's kind of having this sentient relationship with Danger Boat, kind of under the table almost, where he's they're watching Princess Bride. I think they've seen
for the 28th time.
Yeah, 28th time. It's just really adorable stuff, and I like that we give the Princess Bride so much more weight than just kind of like a date movie. You know what I mean?
As you wish, inconceivable doing all that stuff. Then Michael has a little surprise.
And yeah, it's what I love about this is that it really kind of makes Danger Boat's thing with Arthur less about the crush and more about kind of the
human connection.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there's something beautiful there, Dragon. I don't know. It's like you will believe that a boat can feel human connection. You know what I mean?
Tiki, again, I absolutely, you stole it from my mouth right now, but Tiki, it's never in a million years would you imagine you'd be able to say the phrase, man, I believe that boat had that rich human emotion to it. I really that never will you believe in a boat's relationship with another man. It's like, whether that be bromance or more, will you be the judge for this?
We would think that it's just an offhanded, oh, haha, the boat is gay. Isn't that funny?
But it's more than that. It's a really, and of course we have the tragedy, and we legitimize, and only Ben Edlund concept could legitimize something like that. It's just like, oh my, yeah, we legitimized the boat with human emotions. Oh my God, we legitimized it. And of course, it's a really gripping, sad, over the top tragedy. It's like something you'd see on Gotham, which I mentioned because Ben Edlund helped out in the first season of Gotham, and I don't know if he still produces it. I know he produced the early seasons anyway. Point being, the tragedy is it's their year anniversary, I think, and Mike presents him with a cake while they're flying. Again, a boat flying in the air.
And again, I love how this tragedy, it's like it's silly but tragic in the same breath almost.
And basically really Danger Boat was distracted for a mere moment. And as this happened, they were falling. Danger Boat, and of course, as they fall, like nosedived into the water, essentially. Michael, again, it's very graphic too. It's Michael off screen, but
the most graphic moment in the whole season.
I mean, it's kind of, here's the thing, it's like it's off screen, but not off screen enough where you have like you see the entrails, and so basically, so Michael falls again. He has like a metal grate there, so essentially he falls at a high speed, and I guess the impact maybe as well, but basically falls at a high speed, and basically like as Overkill describes it, like cheese through a cheese grater. Oh, and we see cake and blood spattered on Danger Boat. Just that traumatic. Never will you eat cake again after a moment like that. You know, it's like blood and cake. They legitimized blood and cake, man. They did it. So before we get to the resolution to that tragedy, before we get to like the happy ending to all this, let's talk about Lint for a moment here. So Lint makes a really smart move to attack her own people, to mask her identities. People are making the very obvious connection. Well, wait a minute. Lightning lady, she looks pretty much kind of under, she's scarred and everything. And it sounds like the same person. She's targeting, other criminals. Therefore, she might be Miss Lynn. So she has to attack Frank and her own guys to kind of mask her identity, which I like about this. It's kind of reluctant heroism, She's acting heroic to protect her own interests, but she's acting heroic against her own people. Interesting.
Yeah, Lynn definitely has a very strong arc this season as well. I feel like they definitely they set her up like in season 1 to basically just be like the villain's henchman who eventually rises to become the leader, and that's a decent plot, but it's also kind of like it's something that we've seen before. But I feel like something that we haven't exactly seen is the whole idea of a villain, like basically going between the dotted lines and loopholes of a superhero code to do supervillain stuff, but then kind of getting hooked on the superhero stuff in a very supervillain-esque, like ego-driven way. Like, you know what I mean? It's like very unique and meta in that kind of sense.
Yeah, and I guess transitioning to again the big moral climax, and this is what I love. This is what I love most about the bottle episode right here is that I love that. Okay, so Overkill's trying to get him out of. They're trying to rewire Danger Boat, but his hands get shocked the heck out of, and basically his hands are now busted, and only Danger Boat can fix them. Which means they're in trouble. And then time's running out. They have like less than a minute or two left, and it's up to Dot. So Dot, again, a Dot who's kind of embracing Overkill's methods and going the whole like she's willing to pull the trigger on things at this point.
Yeah, that's a very tense moment. Like it kind of had me going. Like for a second there, I was kind of thinking like, okay, like we have Danger Boat's backstory. Like, are they really gonna like think about it, Dragon? If they would have killed Danger Boat off right here, that would have been a very bold move.
It would have been. Again, this is where you get the payoff to like all 4 of these different personalities in this room together. Again, Overkill's friends with Danger Boat, but it's him or me, and he apologizes. I'm sorry, buddy. It's him or me. And Arthur, of course, he's kind of the object of Danger Boat's eye, and of course his sister is going to make a really big moral decision here. It's going to kind of shape like if she can come back from something like this. And the Tick, of course, like no, he's our friend. We can't kill him. Tick doesn't want to kill anybody, even if it's a sentient boat. And Dot again, it's like she's wrapping the knife around the coil, and then Arthur makes this beautiful plea here, and this beautiful plea about losing people, like he lost his father. Of course, he lost his father to a vehicle, so how apropos. But yeah, it's the big moment. You lose people, and you'll never heal from that loss. But again, you find a way to go on essentially. And of course, Danger Boat confesses that he loves Arthur, and Danger Boat has Arthur has sort of a Han Solo response, like I know Danger Boat, I know you do.
It is a very Han Solo.
Arthur's kind of a heartbreaker this season. No, but it saves the day. Danger Boat gets out of his funk, and again we kind of see like there's a new respect there more than there was before, and then we kind of we end on kind of our big kind of tease to a hopeful villain for season 3, where Overkill and Dot. So basically, taking Arthur, they get their lead. Meanwhile, Overkill and Dot, they're on their mission to find the Duke, which leads them to a human furniture ring That's right, folks. I said human furniture, as in people who are essentially mind controlled into posing like furniture, wearing these onesies.
Yeah, this has got to be where we get chair face, right? It's got to be.
And when I saw human furniture, I was thinking
it's too easy to not do in season 3.
But here's the thing. So, folks, here was my mindset. All right, we'll see. My mindset was okay. 2 things. One. Okay, human furniture, which again, furniture, and there's the chair face. I mean, for the most part, I don't know if in the history of the Tick, like he's never done something like this, but it sounds like a chair. I mean, furniture, chair face. I mean, it's not that big of a leap, right? I mean, there's that. So that was what was going through my mind first. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I think I know where they're going with this. And of course, after that, I put it together like, wait a minute, he decapitated the Duke and somehow he's alive. Furniture. Oh my God, are we going to see a man with a chair for a face at the end of the season?
Right.
Are we going to see it? I was losing my mind in my head right now, of course. So basically, Overkill takes Ted the lamp, basically takes this human lamp and says, you can't steal that. That's a person. I can totally steal a person. So he takes his lamps, basically, and kind of get a lead. So again, it's basically, I'm thinking chair face during this point. It doesn't, well, we'll see how it works out. Anyway, we get episode 5. Episode 5 is Magic is Real.
Yeah, so we start things off like right at the top of the episode with basically Luke Cage meets Doctor Strange.
Yeah, basically it's kind of a blaxploitation Doctor Strange, which, by the way,
I love it.
Oddly enough, there is an actual kind of blaxploitation Doctor Strange in Marvel Comics.
I'm not surprised.
I kid you not. It's a really ridiculous character. It's like I think he's I swear to God, I think he's literally called Voodoo Man. I believe that's what he's called.
Voodoo Man.
Because Deadpool had a crossover.
Voodoo Man, a Disney Plus show.
Here's the thing: Deadpool had a crossover with him, like I guess a couple issues back, and the whole like Thanos versus Deadpool comics. So there's like a whole like where he had to cross really. I'm swear to you, I could have sworn I think it's Voodoo Man. It's something like that, where basically he wears like he does voodoo magic. Therefore, I'm thinking it's Voodoo Man. I'm pretty sure it's. Anyway, the point being, so he works like pretty much like Doctor Strange, but he has to like do like the chicken stuff and everything. Therefore, anyway, he wears like he wears like a chicken for a mask or sometimes. So that's when it doesn't matter anyway. Getting back on point here, but yes. So we meet a couple of our new heroes, by the way. So we have Bronze Star, who, by the way, I love the fact that everybody loves Bronze Star. Like Flexon loves Bronze Star, and so does Sage here, because we meet Sage. So Bronze Star is just basically kind of like one of those like silver painted guys, except he's just painted in bronze.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I kind of got like, is there like a direct Elton John reference?
You know who I thought he was?
Who?
He's not, but if I hadn't watched the Goldbergs recently and just seen what Steve Gutenberg looks like now, I would have assumed that was Steve Gutenberg. But it's not.
I want to say that Elton John did this whole like painted man gimmick, but I'm not that familiar with Elton John.
I mean, you might be right. I'm sure by the time like Rocket Man comes out,
yeah. If there's any Elton John people in the audience watching, let us know if I'm far off with that.
Also, okay, so let's see. So in essence, Sage. So Sage also, in addition to being kind of a blaxploitation Doctor Strange, which in itself is funny, with as the Tick, he's a supernumerary, which means he kind of has like a third eye built into him. But what this the Tick keeps calling it throughout the season is hysterical. Super nipple. It's again, honestly, that's
with that description.
Now that's the most very, very big man the Tick's ever sounded, by the way, because about like gaze into my nipples of the future.
Oh God.
See, just like very, very big man, a really, really big man. Anyway, so I love the additional backstory to Sage. Where the idea is that Sage was part of the Righteous Squad. And this is a great the commentary on superheroes, especially Endgame and the Avengers and the MCU we have now. But in general, the Avengers as a concept, where he was part of a team where, I'm kind of phasing out of the team I was on because we have 12 permanent members, and then there's not counting the B Squad and the C Squad. Basically saying like organizations like the Justice League and the Avengers, they have too many members, man. That's the thing. There's too many.
Wasn't there at some point like 3 different factions of the Justice League?
Yeah, I mean, there's Justice League Detroit, there's Justice League, there's too
I
many.
didn't even know about Justice League Detroit. I knew about like the West End Justice League or whatever.
There's West Coast Avengers. There's West Coast Avengers.
That's what I'm thinking.
West Coast Avengers. There's Avengers. There's Secret Avengers.
I had no idea about Justice League Detroit. That sounds so random.
Tiki, there's Tiki, at a minimum, there's 5 of each of these. There's more than 5. I'm just putting at a minimum, all right, of Avengers and with the Justice League. You have Justice League Dark, you got Justice League, you got Justice League Detroit, you have Justice League International, you got Justice. Anyway, the point.
It's like the Kingsmen.
Anyway. All these branches, and of course, there's Justice League Unlimited, which is the preferred version, which is everybody. You don't care anyway. Sorry, trailing off. So, point being, I love your little kind of clever commentary on that. But anyway, so on the whole, magic is real. We have kind of this whole episode to me, I think, thematically is this episode is full of kind of Edlin absurdity, and also we have an almost magical twist at the end of this episode with Lobstercules. I think that's what kind of they're referring to with magic is real.
All
right. So let's see. So anyway, so Bronze-Star and Sage they join Tick and Arthur in their search in the sewers, and of course we're abdicating the message of teamwork here, which Arthur in this episode he's questioning himself, like basically teamwork's the answer to Arthur's question, where he's questioning himself as a superhero when we're bringing like Tick. It was so much easier when it was just you and me. Now we have all these other more spectacular superheroes, which is kind of making Arthur feel very inferior, and Tick saying maybe your vulnerability is your best asset. That's your real superpowers. I don't really think so, Tick. So meanwhile, Superion, he's blowing his. Basically, it's a Charlie Rose parody, which of course these days, let's just say Charlie Rose. In most shows can get Charlie Rose really easily, but let's just say Charlie Rose has had a bit of a shakeup. We'll leave it at that.
Remember when I first heard about that, I was just like, no, Charlie Rose? He's like the most pure guy there is.
That's the thing. I mean, Charlie Rose, well, anyway, I don't want to turn this, let's steer away from the Charlie Rose thing. But the point being, we have Graham Dykeman. So Graham Dykeman, we have the Graham Dykeman interview where basically a spear just kind of like shoots himself in the foot. Horribly here, where he's just insulting the guy. Where he's just like, "Why did you make humanity look like a gingerbread man?" Say, well, maybe if I was allowed to finish before you guys, it was just the point of Superior just being really childish and really
like the guy is like just trying to be as professional as he can. He's like taken aback by it, but by the same point, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Just moving on. I'm a professional here. I'm the big man."
All right, so then I guess let's talk about the big Lobstercules of it all right now. So big reveal.
Yeah, this was definitely clever, Dragon, because I got to say, at this point in the series, in the season, I was kind of thinking like, man, Lobstercules is like a really underwhelming villain. It's like they're not really using them all that much. It's just kind of like a one-note gimmick. Like he's just kind of muscle. Like I don't really like. I'm really underwhelmed by this, and then we get the reveal, and it's definitely something. It's very much the dividing point in the season. It comes at just that perfect like halfway point where it's like, all right, this is like a big status quo changer.
Absolutely, and so again, it feels like it's a really great idea, and again, it kind of takes the villain out of the season, but again, it doesn't really hurt the season, though, in my opinion.
It's like a better version of Jessica Jones season 2.
In essence, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Now, as you said, it's like, oh my god, yes, that's a perfect comparison. Yes,
right.
It is. And look, I don't want to be harsh on Jessica Jones season 2. But let's face it, the Lobstercules.
Season 2 is better than both Iron Man seasons, probably.
Iron Fist season, Stevie.
Oh, Iron Fist. I'm sorry.
I wish we could say Iron Man seasons.
Right. Well, hey, we can say Hawkeye, man.
Hey, fingers crossed, man. I'm
stoked for Hawkeye. Anyway.
Again, there's a great series. Anyway, trailing off. Anyway, but yes. So Lobstercules. So one really cool thing. Lobstercules is voiced by a Tick alumni, voiced by someone from the Patrick Warburton Tick. She is voiced by lovely Liz Vassy. Oh my god, I love Liz Vassy. I loved her in CSI, and she's really funny. And she's good in the Tick. Here's the thing, like a lot of stuff from the Patrick Warburton Tick. As much as I like that series, stuff doesn't quite hold up as well as it used to.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know of that show, mostly it's just kind of like the Warburton stuff is kind of timeless. Everything else is kind of take it or leave it.
Basically, it's not that it's bad. It's just, well, I don't want to get in like obviously there's not a lot of action in the show, which kind of lacks a little bit in essence. But I mean, there's some dated humor.
Very much makes up for the whole like production values element of it.
I mean, there's some dated kind of sexual humor in the original Tick that we kind of
that's like every other sitcom in the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. So basically, that's the sort of thing where the fact is you have Batman, well, who's a ladies' man character, so it's kind of you get where I'm going. It's like, yeah. So anyway. Point being, though, Liz Vassy, she's wonderful, and I love that they brought her back to do the voice of Lobsterculus, this great mother character, and we reveal so Lobsterculus is mother, and this is the Evelyn idea of it all. It's not only just this giant lobster creature, but this giant lobster creature with, the thing I kept wanting to tell you, Tiki, but I couldn't because I didn't want to spoil what the season was. This season, it's the Tics saving lobster babies, man.
Oh God,
they're saving lobster babies.
I mean, I got to admit that is a pretty good sell.
That's the thing, because I was dying to say, like, Tiki, it's the Tick and Arthur saving lobster babies. I just wanted, every time we brought up the Tick, I wanted to say that, but it's like, no.
Like I said, it's not that I was lazy to get to this. It's just that, like, I really did, especially after season 1 was so broken up, where we got the pilot in 2016, then part 1 in 2017, and part 2 in 2018. Like, I really wanted to just enjoy this just as one cohesive thing. And obviously, me, I like to watch stuff as close to the podcast as possible. So, that's why I waited until today to watch this thing. But it wasn't for a lack of wanting to.
Right. So we have the point is we have introduced lobster babies. Pretty much look like average lobsters, but they're a little bit more active, I guess. And and they have this Mogwai song.
Inclined.
They basically do the Mogwai song, and I love it.
Pretty much, yes.
But it's great. It's kind of catchy. It's nice. I like it. It's like, so Arthur wants to help, obviously, kind of being informed of what's going on here. Then we have this awesome moment where the Tick comes in for the savior, because he's freaking out that Arthur's been captured by Lobsterculus. It's kind of like the misunderstanding from Toy Story 2, where the toys think that Woody's being tortured by the Roundup gang, and they all burst through. It's kind of like that, where the Tick Sage points in the direction, where Tick awesomely just like he just runs and crashes through every wall until he finds Lobsterculus, and of course is right after we, the audience, are like, oh no, the Tick's coming to rescue him, and gets into a fight with Lobsterculus, and leads to the big moment where we kind of pay off the Miss Lint story of this episode. Miss Lint her grand plan is to make it onto the Flag 5, and to make it onto the Flag 5, she needs to make a name for herself, and the way to make her name for herself is to take down a supervillain, which, of course, she kind of snuck a peek at what Arthur and Tick were doing, which leads to her capturing poor Lobsterculus after Arthur has set the Tick straight, which means Tick, unfortunately, has lured Lobsterculus to her capture, which is not good. Also, be remiss, we forgot the Overkill stuff. We got to talk about the Overkill stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, Overkill, he finds the mind control device in Ted the Lamp, I guess. Ted the Lamp. And they take him to Black Market Bob.
I just got to get used to not being a lamp. I mean, it's like a new concept for me now.
Look, I have thumbs.
Again, Dragon, that's... you know what? The more we're talking about this season, the more I'm kind of like warming up to it, Dragon. I got to admit. Not that I was like cold on it at all, but like there is a lot of like classic, like nonsensical meta classic Tick humor in this season, probably more so than in season 1.
Oh yeah. But what did you think about Black Market Bob?
I love Black Market. I love the name. I just love the name.
The idea is like when
it feels like a Super Academy name, Dragon, and I say that in a good way.
So essentially, the idea is that Overkill, if he ever needs like some black market intel or some upgrades, like if ever like he needs parts for like when his hands, because he can't go back to Aegis because Aegis skipped town, and also he has like that has the kind of the issues with Aegis. He would go to Black Market Bob, who's kind of his confidant, kind of his Alfred, so kind of his Lucius Fox more accurately. And of course, Black Market Bob's just kind of Black Market Bob.
She's kind of like a Lucius Fox meets Weasel almost.
It's very Weasel's. Here's the thing: traditionally Weasel would be the perfect analogy, but of course in the movies he just didn't really build as much stuff as he. You know.
Well, you taught me enough about Weasel to know that in the comics it'd be a more accurate comparison. So.
But you're absolutely correct. Though. It's definitely a Weasel vibe with Black Market Bob. Just the one that's like, hey, look, I'm all about. You know, just loves to mess around with Overkill, saying, hey, your eyes could have been planted by somebody else. Just open the door.
Oh.
So, boys, Overkill gets his lead. He gets a fix on the Duke's location by tracing the device. All right. So again, Lobstercules is captured, which brings us to episode 6.
Categorically speaking.
Yes. So basically, this episode's the Aegis open house, and I love that this episode entirely is at one location. This is again, it's not a bot. Well, I mean. It's a loose bottle episode, and it all takes place within the singular location, but they're not really.
I mean, I feel like the danger about one is like more literally a bottle episode because it's kind of like a pressure cooker situation and it's a very small confined space.
Yeah, I mean you're right about that. I'm saying again, this one's like loosely a bottle episode. But you're right, that one is more bottle episode than this. But the point being that I like that we're just kind of all this takes place within Aegis.
Sure. And more importantly, Dragon, this is basically like Paperwork, the episode.
And you know me, too. I love mundane. So, what I like in T, this is the pathos of the season.
Never has Paperwork been so thrilling and action-packed.
I mean, seriously, T, and they, of course, huge Better Call Saul fans, where Paperwork you can live or die.
Oh my god, yes. Paperwork is literally like the big tipping point in Better Call Saul.
12 people have died because of Paperwork in Better Call Saul. 1216, 1261. Big stuff.
Oh man.
Okay, but in all seriousness, but seriously, I love that. Again, there's great pathos attached to this Paperwork in this episode. Where I love that at the start of the episode, and again, this is what I love about the season. The Tick is utterly guilt-ridden about what he's done. And again, this is what I love about the Tick as a character. What Sarah Finowitz is doing so well. Where the Tick's like, oh, I feel so terrible. Like Arthur, we have to undo this. I punched a mother in her face parts, man. Like that, that's not good. I just love how remorseful and guilt-ridden the Tick is. And Arthur's saying, "Look, don't worry, Tick. We're gonna do this. We gotta do this. We gotta get the paperwork because we weren't the arresting officers. Basically, we gotta fill all the forms to basically kind of help Lobstercules out and kind of plead her case."
Mm-hmm.
Of course, here we have the bit where again he's kind of the paper queen, as the Tick calls her, Veranda. Veranda has it bad for Arthur, man. She hits it off, man. Anyway, so the idea is taking Arthur, they're on a mission of great bureaucracy this episode, where they have to get the proper signatures to prove that Lobstercules is not a cryptid. A cryptid being like kind of a monster that cannot speak or prove of intelligent life. That sort of thing. So cryptid is just kind of like generic monster versus like sentient monster.
A cryptid is like in real life, it's basically a scientific term for like an uncategorized creature.
Which again also fits perfectly with the episode title, categorically speaking. So categories and other categories in terms of the power set. So sure, yeah. All right. So basically, this builds to let's talk about one of the really great moments with these signatures here. We lead to this beautiful one with Lint. So basically,
my god, this is the best Lint moment of the season.
So the big kind of make or break signature, they have to get the arresting hero's signature, which of course is Miss Lint.
It's like, I love how the stakes are set up, Dragon. It's just like, again, it's like all we need. Literally, the whole point of this scene is like we need pen to paper, man. That's it. But the way that it's set up, it's like as soon as we know that Miss Lint is the signature that we need, it's like this sequence is almost framed as an action set piece at that point, even though all they're asking for is a signature.
And I just love it. Feels almost like brothers and sisters in this scene, man. I love this. We're essentially, so they need Miss Lint, who again is kind of like the bratty older sister in this scene, where she's like, I don't have to do anything. She doesn't want to help him.
It's like a pickles quality.
Yeah, she wants to. She just wants the croissant. So she's looking at other. This is very telling, though, because we had that gag where Arthur took away no croissants for you. We took away the croissants from her.
That was great. That was great.
And now she's looking for other pastries to fill in for.
He literally takes the whole tray with him as he leaves.
Yep. And right now she's looking at other pastries right now, and as she's just kind of sifting around, they're kind of sandwiching her in, and basically Tick's giving her the destiny speech about, oh, you're becoming a hero now. You're hearing that voice. You're feeling destiny's hand on the small of your back. Basically echoing a lot of the dialogue from episode 1 where Tick told Arthur about destiny in the first place. And we have this beautiful moment, the beautiful moment of great growth on Arthur Everest here, where they're both sandwiching her. Arthur with a smile on his face. He's just saying, the Tick and Arthur have this great back and forth, and basically he says, Tick says, "You're not going crazy," and Arthur has the perfect line, "You're just going sane in a crazy world." Exactly what the Tick said to Arthur in the first place. Like, Arthur is fully in the madhouse right now. Arthur's indoctrinated, and that's the line. He says that gets her. She smashes the pages. Okay, fine, just let me sign it. It's great. Oh my goodness, it's a wonderful scene. So meanwhile, so as this is going on, before we get to the payoff of all the paperwork, Dot and Tinfoil Kevin. So by the way, Tinfoil Kevin, he's been really good this season.
Yeah.
It's a big payoff, but what gets us there is Tinfoil Kevin and Dot are on they're on a tour here. Where Tinfoil Kevin does not trust Aegis, and he wants to kind of find out what Aegis knows. And the two of them are kind of an odd pairing in here, where they're kind of going on the Aegis tour for the open house. And Dot kind of uses the opportunity to use the category machine to kind of test her. Recently, she's been dodging bullets thanks to her precognitive abilities, and she's kind of proving whether she's a category or not, which she is. And also, she makes a discovery. Tiki, what is that discovery?
Oh shit! You're putting me on the spot here, man.
The trophy case. The trophy case. What did she find in the trophy case?
Oh yeah, right. The Walter thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so Walter is an Aegis member named, what is it, John Woo?
Yes, John Woo. She finds a man by the name of John Woo who looks remarkably like Walter. Yes. Would have been really hilarious if it just wasn't Walter. See, here's what would have happened. You might have had like a thing on Arrow where it's like, no, he's not the, it looks a lot like him, though.
Or like a twin brother or some shit like that.
Don't joke about that, man. Do not joke about the twin brother.
All right. Jeez, I didn't know it was such a hot button issue.
No. Actually, I gotta be honest. If I'm being honest, I'm more thinking of Gotham, because if you really think about it, we've had a lot of twins on Gotham.
That's true.
So that was an unfair barb against her. I gotta be honest, because again, I could rag on Arrow as the day is long, but not about twins. That's the thing. There's really no twins on Arrow. I gotta be honest. Anyway, but anyway. So getting back on point here. So points. Dot makes big discovery. It seems like John Woo is Walter, and meanwhile, we have kind of our Lobcircules moment. So Lobcircules has been Lobcircules has somewhat found herself in a Shape of Water situation, somewhat, where she's being abused, most likely on the track of being abused, tortured, experimented on. Until the Tick and Arthur, they get their signatures, they're going to speak with her, and of course here we hear a little bit about Liz Vassy. But the big thing is that she's about to be shipped off because she hasn't spoken to anybody, because one, she doesn't trust anybody. And the only person she really trusts is Arthur. So the Arthur and Tick, they come to her, and Tick apologizes, and they try to come on, speak, please, speak. We need to prove that you can speak, so you can get humane treatment, see your children, all that stuff. And we have this again, beautiful moments with a Tick like this, man. Make the season for me, where they're saying, come on, think of your children. And that gets her, man. That gets her, and she's like, don't you think I'm doing this for my children? And basically evolves to the point where she agrees to speak, and we have Tick making her a hero's vow, a hero's oath, which this gave me chills, man. Every time I rewatch this, where the Tick, with Peter Serafino, which is given all the conviction a man could muster, says, "Sweet lady, on my honor, we will save your children." I know it sounds corny, but man, it's great.
No, and it's like, as you said before, it's like, we have the ridiculous notion of like Arthur and Tick just have to fucking save some lobster babies. But
lobster babies.
Man, they do it with such earnestness.
Yeah. So they get the okay, and I love the sense of victory, man, where they go into the office, and I love that Tick's like, right on, and of course, Tick a little professionalism. They're like high-fiving each other, like back and forth on the way out and jumping up.
Dragon, what's great? This is another like kind of like subverting expectations thing here, because it's like, I was just waiting for the Shape of Water style, like, oh, that's not actually a thing. We're just going to ignore that and continue abusing her. I was waiting for it. Were you? I was waiting for that turn.
And I was expecting for like, we already sent her off reveal or something, like.
Right. And so again, I'm kind of like pleasantly surprised that Aegis, like, for the most part, except for like one mole, is a pretty up and up, like you can pretty much take their word at face value, at least from from what we, with the exception of the one guy having the black hole in his chest, that's something that maybe you might want to let some people in on, but
yeah. So yeah, you're right. Again, Aegis for the most part, seems to be on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
All right, so then we have Superion. So Superion's also at this open house, so he kind of runs into Janet.
That Superion gets in the series.
So he runs into Superion. Superion runs into Janet, and then beyond that, he runs into his biggest fan, E. Morgan Pearl. This is really intimidating. He's kind of walking up to him in his kind of his civilian guise. Hey, he always wants to talk to me.
I like how you can track how unhinged Superion is by his facial hair growth in the season.
Yeah, he's going for the lumberjack look. Yeah. And then we have this hysterical sequence. So basically, it goes from him finding E. Morgan Pearl, and he throws his hat, and then we see this. And of course, me too. I love the original Donner Superman movie, so I was laughing there.
Oh yeah.
Where they basically almost line for line, he gives the "Can you read my mind" sequence, but it's one. Imagine if you had. Here's the thing: it's like the ego-driven version of "Can you read my mind," where it's it's like, what if Superman was just remarking like, oh man, Lois Lane is loving this right now, or
right,
E. Morgan Pearl, who was a reporter, by the way, which makes it even funnier. Where he's just, and of course in reality he's just screaming his head like, it's just panicking. Then we reveal that he left him in Guatemala, where the Guatemalan temple where he takes Arthur and stuff, just left him there, like Arthur was afraid he was gonna leave him. So all right, so then we get to episode 7. It's either Lilo Ho or Lilo Ho.
I think it's Lalo.
Right, yeah, you're right.
That's the gag, because it's a hotel. It's the Lalo Hotel.
I know that. I'm just trying to think what the actual, but you're right. There's the Lalo. All right, so we have the Lalo Hotel. And this is the stakeout episode.
Yes. Again, another one, kind of like episode 3, where it's not a bad episode by any stretch, but I feel like it's not as big of a standout as some of the other ones.
However, Tiki, this is directly the episode where the Tick and Arthur are saving lobster babies.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That is true. They do directly save the lobster babies in this one.
But that said, this one is
However, I feel like episode 8 is more the lobster babies episode, though. That's like lobster baby centric.
You're right about that, so I'll meet you halfway by saying, yes, this one, they're saving lobster babies, but at the same token, they are... this one's pretty short. It's a one and done there, but it's basically it's a dual stakeout episode. That's what it is. It's not a bad thing. It's just kind of straightforward and short.
Yeah.
So Tick and Arthur, I love at the beginning they're pursuing the volcano lead. So initially, what I thought it was going to be, the clue was like right under their nose. I was kind of laughing when I shouldn't have been laughing. Where they have like they've been going to massage parlors and pizza places. They get a pizza from.
That's exactly what I thought it was going to be too. Yeah. I'm glad I wasn't crazy with that. I feel like that was an intentional red herring.
Like Pompeii Gardens pizza place, and it was like they had this pizza with the thing on the box. I just thought they randomly
yes.
Thought they just randomly got pizza during the search, and it's like, Arthur, we had to get back out there. I know, Tick, we are. And I thought, I was like, okay,
Margaritaville.
Anyway, so let's see. So then Lint gives him a call about the whole Superion concerns. Like, hey, he's talking about like throwing people off the planet, man. You gotta stop being his therapist. And of course, while this is happening, they hear the Lobster Baby song.
Oh God!
And of course, it gives them the motel lead for the Lalo Motel. And of course, I gotta tell you, I love the Lalo Motel as this tropical motel theme. I love it.
It's like a seat. Like I feel like the owners of this motel, just to kind of get into like some headcanon here, like the owners of this motel, like they're probably self-aware about the fact that this is like a seedy hotel where gangsters hide out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That doesn't mean that they can't have some thematic integrity with their hotel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And their theme like speaks specifically to their clientele. It's like it's the lay low. It's like that's you come to the hotel to lay low. You know what I mean? I love that. It's like it's literally like marketing to their demographic.
Absolutely. So then we have, essentially, just to keep it simple, we have dual stakeouts going on here. We have the Tick, Arthur, and Tinfoil Kevin in a car, in Dot's car, having snacks and everything.
appreciative tinfoil Kevin is of getting in on the plan.
Yeah, we had the cooler and everything.
Thank you guys for making this a three-person stakeout, and others just kind of like dismissively like, yeah, you're welcome, Kevin.
They needed the cooler, so that's why they invited Kevin. Again, really mundane. Like Kevin has to run out there and they give him like the thumbs up, like basically has to spot which room they go into. All right, let's see. So, the two groups. So, essentially, the two groups go about things differently. We have kind of superheroes versus the vigilante tactics, and of course, basically, the Tick and Arthur want to help out Dot and Overkill. They don't want to risk them getting in trouble on their own mission, which is a little dismissive. By the same token, I mean, they are in grave danger here, so they should wait for the nigh invulnerable guy and the guy in the bulletproof suit. Maybe.
I mean, they do. With what happens, they do kind of have a point.
They do. Again, they're still. I mean, Overkill's experienced. Don't get me wrong, but again, Dot is a little green on things. But again, it's a dangerous mission. Anyway, so we have this great there are no. Again, the idea is that the Tick keeps saying in the woods as a comparison for where Overkill is with the whole murder thing. So basically, it says you're like a swan right now going through a transformation. Like there are no swans in the woods.
We also get the Thing, right?
Yes, we get the Thing. Let's talk about the Thing.
Yeah, that's probably honestly the big highlight of the whole episode.
So Overkill basically on these all or nothing kind of character defining missions. There's no going.
It's like Lego Batman logic right here, and I love it.
There's like a ritual that he and Danger both partake in that now Dot's going to be privy to. And again, this is one of the cutest things here for me. He's like, oh my god, I love Dot and Overkill. Yeah, there's so much. Where Overkill has a dance party. Essentially, he wants to. Again, this is a nice idea. Basically, he lives in darkness, but there's moments before we dive into the darkness, we celebrate what we preserve in the light, which in this case is dance parties. And of course, he plays like a song from Prodigy.
Ends of 2000s era DreamWorks movies, man.
And they play like a song from that group Prodigy, and get my fight on, get my bite on that song, and it's again. Then they're dancing together. And that's like, I can't believe this is happening. It's adorable.
It is.
The Danger Boat's busting some moves. I don't know. It's all great. Okay, so anyway, then Arthur. I love that Arthur is the MVP of the Saving Lobster Baby of the Saving Lobster Babies plan here, because it comes with a plan of Tick flips over the van, which lures them all out there as they kind of go through the window, and with Tinfoil Kevin's help, they rescue lobsters. And this again, it's a very mundane altercation, but again, it's compelling. It's a little compelling here, where Donnie Donnelly, he goes in there, big guy, faces off against Arthur. If it isn't the accountant. And then get into it, and Arthur, just by the luck of the draw, he kind of shoves him into the tub, and he wins until the Tick just kind of barges in there and kind of knocks Arthur out with the door. But I mean, Arthur faced it. All right. So then we have Lint. Also, we just by sheer coincidence, Lint. We begin Lint's thing, where Lint is kind of seeing her more heroic potential in the reflections of things. See the Janet side of her, which, by the way, a little fun fact.
This is another example, Dragon. Again, this season is kind of like doing some check marks of just like it's a superhero cliche. It's like we're doing like the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin scenario, right?
Yeah.
But we're really turning it on its head.
There's that, and also a little fun fact, and this has just been there from the beginning with Lint, but I mean, something they hear with the heroic side of things is that people think Lint might be going on the heroic path even in Season 1 because her name is Janet, and if you want to look at the Patrick Warburton Tick, the Captain Liberty character that Liz Vassy played, her name was Janet.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. So the point is like...
I kind of got a vibe, of course, with the Joan of Arc alter ego, the mother being Joan.
I know, yeah.
That's kind of some symbolism there too.
Sure, yeah. I thought it was a little bit more of a correlation with episode 8, but yeah, I get it.
Well, you're right. It is a correlation with episode 8. I'm just saying with the, kind of the symbolism of the character in general. Anyways.
Well, you're right. Okay, anyway, so the point is, so when we save the lobster babies, Lint helped, again, showing a little bit of heroic edge.
I helped.
Yes. And Janet, she's again, Janet's kind of her better side of herself is kind of mocking her, kind of laughing at her, like, you're a good guy, admit it, that sort of thing. And then we have the big ending where Dot and Overkill, they think they're about to find the Duke. They think they're about to find what, fingers crossed, this chair face, but it's a trap. And, Overkill's basically sealed in this, like, indestructible little thing so he can be kind of captured and kidnapped and everything. But as this happens, Dot uses her precognitive abilities to kind of survive by the skin of her teeth, but a bomb goes off. She escapes by the skin of her teeth, and she's knocked out on a beach. And that's where the episode ends. So it brings us to episode 8.
Joan!
So on the whole, thematically, episode 8 is kind of, there's a big maternal theme to season 2, and I think most of it gets brought out here with Joan, our mother figure. Who, again, I gotta tell you, I never thought I loved Joan this much. I mean, don't realize she was fine in season 1. I mean, it wasn't like nothing to write home about, but it's like, hey, she's mother. And here's like, man, Joan rocks, man.
Well, of course, we get the the budding friendship between Joan and the Tick, where they're talking on the phone for hours each day. That's kind of a setup.
Yep. And, she's all about inclusion and honesty, which is also a big theme of the season, inclusion and honesty. And,
Sure.
She's, again, Joan in this episode kind of connects to, is the kind of lightning rod to most, if not all stories for this episode, and also kind of Joan, the whole Joan of Arc thing for the season, if you want to make that leap with Jan. Again, kind of like a Joan of all things,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. So I guess let's start with so Tick and Arthur. They're babysitting lobster babies, and this is just delightful. Again, I love the pairing. The Tick is nigh invulnerable, therefore these lobsters can pinch as much as they want. It's not going to bug him as long as they don't pinch his antennas. He's going to be fine. And my little headcanon is that they really, I like to think they gravitated. Bear in mind the Joan thing kind of throws us out the window, but I always like to think that the Tick and Arthur were. They took the Tick and Arthur so fast because they had antennas like lobsters.
Aw, that's kind of a cute theory.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point is, like, they're having a good time. The fact that these guys can pinch the Tick as long as they want, he won't even feel it, so long as they don't like pinch
these lobsters away from Tom. From oh god, I'm having a fucking brain from Tom Hardy.
Right. Oh god, yeah. Oh Jesus. Oh my god. Oh yeah, if they want to show. They want to show Lobster Babies a horror movie. They show them that.
Oh, God.
not just the Venom movie, just that one scene.
Exactly. Just
like, that's the real Venom movie. Just that one scene at the restaurant. Started with steaks and ended with lobsters.
Which honestly is one of my favorite scenes in that whole movie because it's like it's like one of the acting highlights from Tom Hardy's performance in that movie.
I love the line like, "This is dead. What you're eating is dead." Okay. Anyway, so the point is, they loop Joan in. So Joan drops by, and I like that we just cut out with the middleman here. Like we have a lobster, it's like kind of escaping, and Arthur trying to gesture like go back. And of course Arthur just gives up and says, yes, it's a lobster, and just shows her, basically loops her in. She says, "This is what I want, Arthur. I want to be in your lives for good, for better, or for worse." Mm-hmm. Which is really good. And again, we're cutting out the fat man. We're cutting out the middleman. We're embracing it. I think the season's all about this.
Yeah, it's like 4 seasons of like, okay, gotta hide the lobster babies from everyone. Oh no, shenanigans. And
it's so cute when they take the Joan, of course, like just the Tick saying, "This is your Meemaw, Joan." They all just in unison with these high-pitched voices just say Joan. It's God, it's so cute, and they're singing the little song and everything. They find out, thanks to Joan, that the lobsters are hungry, so they kind of handle that by the end of the episode, which we'll get to, which is great. Arthur, meanwhile, he loops in. Basically, Arthur loops Flex on in to help, the coercion defense to get Lobsterculus reunited with her babies, out of Dodge and reunited with her babies. And Tick, again, I love for these bits, man, where the Tick gets really stern and serious here, where the Tick's playing with the lobster babies, and he's just really upset to see Flex on there because again, they promised not to. They made a hero's oath not to tell anyone about this. And the Tick says, "Joan, take God, it's like get the Phoebe and I forget the other lobster baby's name. The point is like take the lobsters and into the other room, please. Yes, we'll play cowboys later." And he just says, "Hey, you rubberneck. We made a hero's oath not to tell us." Again, the Tick is getting really stern, really serious. Like, hey,
and again, conceptually, I love the idea of this guy being like a kind of like a sleazy lawyer version of Mr. Fantastic.
Pretty much, and that's also, I think there's a lot of elongated man. If anyone's watching The Flash right now, the elongated man also he's kind of an elastic hero with a purple kind of costume, so it's kind of very befitting of Flexon too. So that's a little bit of a elongated man who's a detective. In this case, we had a lawyer. So yeah, it's but yeah, we do have the lawyer confidentiality thing going on here, which is great. So let's see. Beyond that, we have basically this episode is full of this episode 8 feels like an homage to the Patrick Warburton tick, where we have kind of some sitcom shenanigans going on.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like stylistically it stands out for that reason. Like, that was definitely a conceptual choice, and I very much admire it for that. It's not a move the plot from point A to point B. It's very much kind of like, all right, let's take some time to really craft something that feels like it's in the style of the original show. Yeah.
So let's see. So basically, kind of our sitcom-y kind of shenanigans going on here. We have so basically we have a surprise Aegis inspection for kind of the Flag 5 contenders. So they're kind of dropping by unannounced, kind of gauge what the headquarters looks like.
And again, Dragon, subverting expectations. This could have very easily been like, hey, wait a minute, you're hiding this thing, and now you're the enemy of Aegis for the rest of the season with 3 episodes left to go.
Yeah. Again, not doing that, making the best use of our time here. Good stuff. And we have like this nice moment where the Tick learns about parenting from Joan. It's a really nice conversation they have where the Tick's, again, this great, again, they have this great banter throughout the season where he's calling her on the phone and stuff, but it's a really great real conversation they have where the Tick's asking an innocent question. This speaks to the quality of the Tick, where the Tick's just kind of this helpful lightning rod for characters of self-reflection where he says, like, what happens if you mess up? And her answer is like, all you can do is love them and try your best. And it's a great piece of advice.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically assuades her worries about her children, saying, you've raised amazing children, Joan. You are perfect. Look at what you've done here. They're living their full potential. Good stuff. And we have Arthur playing therapist to Superion, to a spiraling Superion yet again.
Showing up like, all right, Superion, take a seat, fine. Oh, I actually want to lie down. Where's the bedroom?
I love that Superion is basically his go-to. This is hilarious. I love that Superion, when he's spiraling, is going to either bad ideas or bad Superman movies. He suggests like,
I mean, to be fair, the spinning the Earth around isn't from a bad Superman.
I know, that's what I meant. That's why I tried to distinguish.
It is a bad Superman moment, though. I'll argue. It's at least a silly Superman moment at the very least.
All right, look, what I'm getting at is, look, I'm a defender of the spinning the Earth back, but it's not. Oh,
that's fine. That's fine. I think it's silly.
Well, what I'm getting at is, I mean, we have spin the Earth back. It's later on, though. What we have here is like he literally pitches Superman 4.
Right.
That's what I really mean by bad Superman movies right here. Superman 4 is just where he's just like, maybe I should take all the nukes and just kind of put them in a big metal net and throw them in the sun. He literally says that. He does. So it's a big call out to Superman 4. Oh. That's his go-to for winning people back. And of course, Arthur's just like, no, let's not do that. And basically, again, we hammer the idea that Superion is definitely, if the Tick was a terrible listener, you get Superion without a real honor code that he sticks by. Because the Tick, like, as we saw earlier in the episode, the Tick stands by the hero's oath and the hero's code. Where again, Superion is going through a crisis, so not so much. Also, we have this really great bit where, during the interview process, where they're asking about Arthur's mental. This is a really nice moment where they're asking about Arthur's mental state and his mental health history. The whole he was given a lot of medications and he's probably in therapy over the years. And Jones leaps to his defense, saying that was on me. I didn't believe him about the terror, and we saw that he was right. So that again, she takes the rap for Arthur.
That was a great moment. That was probably the best Joan moment of the series so far, I think.
Again, Joan and Dot really improved this season. Not that there was anything wrong with them, but they made them better.
Well, I feel like you hit the nail on the head. Like there wasn't anything wrong with them, but by the same token, they were just kind of like your typical like disapproving sister and loving mother character archetypes. You know what I mean? There wasn't really a whole lot going on underneath the hood with either of them last season.
I mean, and classically, the only thing that was really done with them, sometimes, like in the Patrick Warburton tick, they committed Arthur for an episode, and that was they kind of learned from that. And in the animated show, the biggest progression is that Dot married a superhero. Dot married, which again maybe speaks a little bit of Overkill there, perhaps in the future. But in the tick animated show, she married Dinosaur Neil.
Oh.
Which in itself is hilarious. Dinosaur Neil is the giant dinosaur with a mustache.
Oh God!
Seriously, it's great. Anyway, I'll go to point being. Okay, anyway, so Dot. Speaking of Dot, so Dot deals with the whole Walter betrayal because basically she's on a beach and Walter was looped in by Rathbone at the last episode. At the end of the last episode, he went to his woodshed, which basically is like a secret kind of armory and base. It's kind of like Spider-Verse-esque, just a little bit more confined. And basically, he finds Dot, and then Dot's kind of dealing with the betrayal, putting two and two together, like, oh my God, John Woo, you're an Aegis agent this whole time. And then we learned that, Walter did legitimately fall in love with Joan. He was assigned to protect her. And again, Aegis, this is the great thing you've been speaking to this whole time, Tiki, about the subversion, where Rathbone, again, is an honorable guy. He wanted to look after the Everest.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's honestly like one of the smartest choices of the whole season is making Rathbone an honest guy through the whole thing. Like he is on the straight and, he might have like a boisterous, like John Wayne type personality, but he is kind of on the straight and narrow the whole way through. There's no moment of like, I'm sorry I have to do this, kid. You're a good kid, but the blah, 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 corporate, right.
And we have this parallel with the Walter stuff is that it's about secrecy, where we have all about openness with Joan there, so there's kind of a nice little parallel going on there.
Sure.
And of course, then we have the starfish scene. Oh God, I love the starfish scene.
Okay, first of all, just I don't know, just the idea of digesting starfish is gross to me.
Well, Tick's not digesting; he's just chewing it up, though.
Okay, that doesn't make it any better. And like when it comes to food, I'm a big texture guy, and the idea of eating starfish texture, just no, Dragon. There's something that just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies about that in a very kind of visceral way.
You want me to make it creepier for you?
Oh God, sure.
When he bites into it, I don't know how did the effect. I don't know if it's just him shaking his hand or what. But if you look really cool, it might be an after effect. The starfish actually kind of moves like it's alive.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Oh God, it's like you've got like the scales of the starfish, but at the same time, it's like probably slimy underneath the.
Okay. Let me tell you why I like it. It's not because he's like biting into a starfish. What I like about it is
there's just like the million different like little like hairs on the starfish, for lack of a better term. Oh, it's just no.
Okay, but seriously, what I love about it again,
I don't know why we're tapping into like a really weird phobia that I have right now.
Let's see. Let's chalk it up to the list. We have carnivorous plants, and we have eating a starfish.
And don't forget, like, dramatic exclamations of peaches for some reason.
All right. Anyway.
Look a peach.
Right. Anyway, so, what was it? Oh, yeah, so the thing I love about the starfish thing, though, the reason I like it is I love that the tick is being so awesomely selfless here. It's like, oh, yeah, but the tick's such a beautiful human being, he'll bite into that, because, again, We've seen, again, the Donnellys tried feeding the lobsters by blending it up there and, all that stuff. But, again, they can't just eat. They won't eat unless it's like baby birded or lobster birded into them. And then the tick goes for it, man, because he cares about everybody. And, of course, like, we're trying, like, you really are the good guys, aren't you? We're trying to be, Joe. We're trying to be. He bites into that starfish and he feeds that little lobster baby, man. He feeds them all because he's the tick.
And you know what? I kind of noted that that's like one of the only episodes that doesn't end in a cliffhanger. Instead, it kind of just ends in a thematic punctuation, which I thought was a nice choice.
Yeah. So then we got episode 9, Into the Woods. No, not the musical.
No, it's just In the Woods.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I'm looking on Amazon right now, following the titles. It's just In the Woods.
Now I feel stupid, so forget what I said. Just
Into the Woods. Into the Woods.
Oh, darn it. Anyway, now you're making... Now we're getting to my phobias. Darn it. Anyway,
what? Into the Woods is a
no. Okay, it's not a faux. It's just like a couple songs that I'm not crazy about. I don't like that one.
That's Sondheim, man. I'm not a big fan of the movie adaptation, but that's a good show. I saw the show. It's a damn good show. Anyways.
I'm not saying the whole thing. I'm just saying that the Into the Woods. I don't know. There's always something off about the Into the Woods songs. Like,
really?
I hate.
I think it works better in the context of the show because it's like kind of like this big 7-minute introductory piece that just sort of like sets everything up. It's almost
that's what I'm saying. You're not wrong with it, but I'm saying
Star Wars crawl of the show.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong. What I'm saying is, out of context, it just never feels right. It's like, I don't know.
But in context, that's the thing with Broadway shows. It's like, unless you're like Hamilton, you're not really going to work out of context.
I'm saying like that and Summer Loving. Summer Loving's like sandpaper to my ears. I can't stand it. But it's like, it's anyway.
Summer Loving from Into the Woods?
No, not from Into the Summer. The Grease song.
Well, Grease as a whole sucks. All right.
Hey, okay. Anyways,
you on that? I dislike Grease very passionately.
Okay, we're just making me feel guilty now for getting the name of the episode wrong. Just let's just In the Woods. So we see basically the stakes are very high, hence the In the Woods of it all with the title. So it's kind of what signifies Overkill's thing where you're in the woods. We're in the woods now, man. It's danger time. This is kind of the pen. Again, this is episode 9 and 10. Everyone they kind of blend together, but 10 has a little bit more thematic thing that makes it stick out. But as you mentioned, it's a bit of kind of a climax issue with 10. So anyway, so episode 9. Tick, Arthur, Sage, and Bronze. Basically, we see that Tick, Arthur, Sage, Bronze Star, and Lint made the Flag 5. Arthur has achieved his lifelong dream.
Here's the thing, Dragon. I feel like episode 9 feels like a bigger episode 10 than episode 10 does, because episode 9 is like, well, then again, I feel like maybe they're going like the Better Call Saul approach, where the penultimate is like the bigger episode.
You know what? I'm saying, on second thought, yeah, you're right, because I'm now remembering, oh yeah, the end of episode 9 is huge, which, yeah, episode 9 does stand out.
Episode 9 has a big start with making the Flag 5, and then a big end. So, and then episode 10 is just kind of like, all right, we know who the villain is, and we have to inevitably wrap up the villain plot.
Yeah, you're right. There is a bit of, I'll go with you on that. Yeah, 9 stands out a little bit more. Okay, so, the point is we have we have a new Flag 5, and, they're giving, like, the flock flare and everything, which basically is kind of like a Superman signal watch. It's all relative, it's all there. And I love the idea where you get to the core of Aegis. Aegis is a lot about branding and bureaucracy. And of course, we have like the branding idea where we see the concept drawings of like them with like these like the tick saying, I look like a crossing guard for justice.
I don't think the tick sees that as a bad thing. That's the thing.
I know. He doesn't see it as a bad thing. Then we have like guys like Sage, who's like, you cover up the supernumerary here with the number 5. That won't stand at all.
That's a little like I could see how Sage could take offense to that.
Yeah. So let's see. So basically, they're trying to the thing about Aegis is they're trying to do like a media push of the Avengers going on here. And it's kind of what they're doing. They're trying to sell the Avengers to the masses, kind of like Nick Fury was. Well, again, less kind of marketing, more just like trying to sell it to like the higher ups of the government. But anyway, so then we have the cake gag. We have yet another cake bit here. It's a dramatic cake bit too. Remember, because here's the thing, it's not as dramatic as the earlier cake bit, but this cake bit though is like they have cake and like Flex says, "Oh man, you guys get cake," and of course we have a transition, an ultimate transition of evil cakeness right now. Special, Dr. Agent Hobbs. He takes the cake, and we follow him, and we reveal that Agent Hobbs is the bad guy. Bum bum bum. And he has Overkill strapped to a gurney, and he's basically asking, "You want some cake?" And so basically, let's talk about the Agent Hobbs thing. So this, I think, is where we get into kind of our realization with Cherokee. So
yeah, I gotta say, Dragon, this is just kind of like. I don't know, like the only good thing about it is that typically the scientist character is like the good guy in these sorts of situations. Like, for example, in The Shape of Water, that's a good example. Yep. So, I don't know. I just don't think the guy has very much charisma, frankly. Like, they even make jokes about the guy not having much charisma.
What I'm getting at here is that, for me, I think what they're saying here, I hope this isn't like the last nail in the coffin for. I'm hoping they kind of emulate the Marvel movies with this, where basically they kind of made Chairface into a Mandarin with the Duke.
A little bit.
That's essentially what they're doing. Again, he was basically a fabricated thing. They led him to a trap. So again, it's like the Mandarin being a fabricated thing in Iron Man 3. So I'm hoping they still do a thing where you eventually do see a real Chairface of that stuff that we'd put forward. I hope they do like the real Mandarin thing in the MCU. Like there's still the real Mandarin out there. I hope there's the real Chairface out there.
Mm-hmm.
Point being, yeah, I remember they have like, nodded at a few things. Like sorry, I'm jumping far ahead. We've nodded a few things in the first season of the Tick that we've kind of paid off in the second season. So it's never say never. So we could get a Chairface down the line. Who knows? But for all intents and purposes, this might be the closest thing to Chairface we get if they stick to the grounded thing. But bear in mind, next season might go into space somewhat. So you never know. All right. So basically, the clever plan here, the kind of the kind of the Zemo-esque plan, the motivation with Hobbs here is that it's he wants to use categories as tools, to turn Aegis against them. He wants Aegis to be basically kind of like S.H.I.E.L.D. before the superheroes. That's what he wants. Is Aegis to be kind of the bureaucracy before it's like it's kind of like like putting together super teams and everything. That's what he wants, and he's always had disdain for Overkill. Was the first because he was like kind of a very low category. He heals fast. That was his shtick. Maybe enhanced strength, heals fast. One of those powers. So, yeah, motivation.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't really have much for this guy. He's just kind of there.
Well, speaking of you spoke of Shape of Water, let's talk about another beautiful one with Lobcircules here, where we have the Tick. Basically they run their legal strategy by Lobcircules about let's tell them about the children so we can get you out of there, use them in your defense, and she says friend Tick, and also I forgot to mention this. Lobcircules was an Atlantean guard, by the way, so we kind of acknowledge Atlantis with Lobcircules. I forgot to mention that. That's why she's so good at fighting. Why she's so kind of like super.
Eventually, there's going to be a Jason Momoa crossover,
or a parody of Jason Momoa. That'd be hilarious.
Right.
All right. So basically, the Tick has this beautiful thing here where he basically sells Lobcircules, and it's Pierre Seraphim, which is bringing it, man. It says, Lady Lobster, the joy of raising kids. Joy of raising, your kids, Lobcircules. It's been a joy raising them. Can we give them violin lessons? Give them violin lessons. And the Tick saying something along the lines of what do you think, friend Tick? The only thing I can think about are their cute little faces and unforgiving love pinches. You're like the little ones. So. The point is, your little ones are so wonderful, and they miss you so much. I mean, how do you say no to that? So Lobcircules is so moved by it. It's like, yes, you have my permission, like lawyer. Yes, get me out of here. Like, tell them put them on the table, make them public. I want to get to my children ASAP. So, over progress. Meanwhile, not Walter. Basically, Tick and Arthur are now looped into the whole situation, as Tick calls him, not Walter. They have a conversation about honesty, and of course, Walter feels guilty. But again, he truly did fall in love with Joan. So again, meets in the middle there. But of course, the Tick being a character all about honesty, and I love how Walter feels really guilty because the Tick feels really wounded by this. Because remember, they bonded really.
Oh, they really did bond, yeah.
Tick met Walter at his birthday party. Yeah, they were buddies. So, so basically, it's all up to Arthur right now. It's up to Arthur to use the Flag 5 communicator to tell Ty Rathbun all about this, and this is like risking his big dream on day one. He has to call the boss and say, "Hey, there's a coup going on." And and Arthur does the right thing because his sister his Dot feels very responsible for Overkill's predicament, and of course, it ends in hugs, all around hugs.
And then that leads us to the best Ty Rathbun moment in the season.
Yes, so we have the let's see, so Arthur calls Rathbone to film, and of course hasn't even read the whole manual yet, so he's breaking protocol. Rathbone's not thrilled with it. Then of course, as Arthur's talking to Rathbone, he gets a call from Joan, and says, "It's my mother." Your mother? It's like no, it's about my stepfather and my sister, but it's my mother's on the other line. Well, it says, well, you take that call, and it says, wait, what? No, it's just my mother. So, It is not just your mom. It is not just apple pie or baseball. You take that call and I'll be waiting here on helmet hold.
And that to me kind of just cements Rathbone as like, yeah, this guy, there's no way this guy is like a surprise, like lame twist villain. This guy's on the up and up.
Right. So meanwhile, speaking of achieving goals and such, so Lynch, she's achieved her goal, and she's reflecting on her dreams of heroism in her youth about Joan of Arc, like why she picked the name. She's having like kind of a Defoe conversation right now. And I think the real question with Lynch for the whole season, you can tell me if I'm wrong here. I think the question that Lynch's kind of asking herself before the last episode is, are you on a quest for heroism or a quest for power? Like, are you doing all deep down for heroism or because you lust for power? Like, what do you take away from the lesson of Joan of Arc? She was powerful. Do you want power? Do you want to go down as a hero? And again, she does, and this is really interesting on a rewatch, Tiki. She vows to disappoint herself. Says, you're going to be disappointed. She says that to herself. And again, she's not lying, as we find out in the last episode.
Yeah.
All right, so we loop in the Rathbone. This leads Rathbone to confront Dr. Agent Hobbs, and this leads to basically, again, it seems like Rathbone, again, doing the honorable things, and you're dismissed, you're using this mind control technology, I rule as a negatory, and you're doing all this, you're out of here, Hobbs, you're finished. And then Hobbs, basically, we reveal Overkill. Basically, we turn Overkill into Winter Soldier. He's been mind controlled by the little device in his head. So now it's really, again, it's a lot like Civil War, where now Winter Soldier's under mind control, and now he's back here in regards of Overkill shooting, kind of snipering Rathbone. He's dead, and it's such a shame because Rathbone was a cool character.
Yeah, he was, and I gotta tell you, I don't know what it is. It's fine. It makes sense as a legitimate threat, but I don't know. Maybe it's because we've seen it in the MCU a couple times, both with the Winter Soldier and with the Loki Pokey stick. Like, mind control, especially in the season finale, just feels a little bit lazy. It's like, okay, like that's our big hook going into the final episode is mind controlled overkill. I don't know. It's like, am I crazy for being a little bit underwhelmed by that?
Well, look, Tiki, I think
if it would have happened, if it would have happened in the middle of the season, I would have been fine with it. But like I said, it's like literally like supposed to be the big sting and hook that takes us into the final episode. That's what I have a problem with.
Well, Tiki, I'd meet you. Here's the thing. I think if it were with any other character, then I agree with you. But it's with Overkill, we have two things going for it. Again, kind of a parody of the Winter Soldier. Again, it's mainly the Punisher, yes. But by the same token, again, with the whole straight shooter angle that we learned halfway through the Tics first season. Again, there's a lot of Winter Soldier there in retrospect. And on the flip side of that, you do have the fact that the whole no-killing thing where Overkill is kind of killed in a big way that definitely kind of hurts the Tick and Arthur in a big fundamental way. So I don't know. I think it fits him a lot more. If there were any other character, it'd be I'd agree with you, but I don't know. I think it fits him. And again, you care about Overkill.
About like thematically with the no-kill thing, I didn't really consider that.
That's what I'm saying. I think it fits him given how the season goes and all that sort of stuff. I think we could have made a little bit more of a big deal about it. But however, to episode 10's point, we do economize things. We don't do the whole like, oh man, is Overkill going over the line? I mean, it might have been neat, but by the same token, it might have eaten up a lot of time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad we don't get too much with it because I feel like it is a development that could potentially suck a lot of screen time out.
They kind of met in the middle. So episode 10 is Choose Love. So thematically, Choose Love is all about the Tick has an awesome speech. Where it's about how kind of the good and evil, it's between choosing love or choosing fear as your motivation to act. Everything that happens afterwards is up to destiny, and why do you fight? It's like the drive-in motivation, which kind of ultimately leads to the solution. Like the Tick chooses love, or Hobbs chooses fear. So at the start of things here, Hobbs, he's trying to play it all cool, like, hey, I'm the new act again. The read is full title. I had to write it down because it's a mouthful. Agent Hobbs currently is acting Agent Commander Dr. Agent Hobbs. So he's kind of absorbed the position here as Rathbone has seemingly been killed, and he's a goner. So now Hobbs in the acting position here, he's trying to manipulate Arthur so he can find out and basically kill all the witnesses or to control all the witnesses and such. But but impressively. And I love this. Again, this is a great like subversion here. Like, man, Arthur figured it out like after the first scene he had with him. It's like, yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And at first it looks like Arthur is fooled by him, and he walks out. He's kind of very very much going through the motions, but then immediately he's like, no, this guy's trouble. Like, this guy's been compromised.
Because again, it's a very logical thing. Like, why would he hold a meeting in the same office, like, without even looking over his shoulder at, like, being sniped after the last guy got sniped?
Uh-huh.
So let's see. So we learn. See, Arthur is now fully in the loop. He learns Dot has abilities about the precog thing, and we have this great bit by the tics. Oh, Dot, you're in the journey too. Destiny's on the phone, and it's a party line.
That's a great line.
Let's see. Basically, the two missions of the episode are: we got to save Overkill, and we got to save the lobster babies, because the lobster babies are in peril. Because now again, oh my God, he just now knows about the lobster babies, and that Dr. Agent Hobbs guy is very interested in the lobster babies. We got to save them. So it leads to this great sequence where it's Walter, Joan kind of defending the lobster babies, but also Kevin is kind of the MVP in the sequence here. We reveal Kevin this whole time he wears the tinfoil hat. He wears the tinfoil hat to avoid Aegis's detection and possibly to supplant his ability, which his ability is invisibility. Mm-hmm. He uses his invisibility to save Walter, Joan, and the lobster babies. And on the flip side of things, Overkill, he tries to warn his friends. He kind of tries to save his friends via the suicide call, but before he's able to pull the trigger, he's stopped by Hodges. And importantly, and I love this, I love that we continue the fact that Arthur knows supervillains and how they operate, because that's how he found the Terror. And I love that he knows that, look, Overkill's going to be fine right now. We got to focus on other things, right? Because Overkill, he's not going to let Overkill kill himself because he needs him. And basically, he's baiting us to go there. So it's good planning on Arthur's part.
Yep.
So Arthur, he has some finesse that helps with the plan to save. I'm sorry, just went over that point. Late. Okay. We have the prolific tics speech about choosing to act, how choosing to act defines you, about again the choosing to act out of love or not of fear. And we have a. I want to mention this about Hobbs. One interesting thing about Hobbs that occurred to me on a rewatch is that with Arthur and Hobbs, there is somewhat of a parallel there. Again, Hobbs kind of showcases his Zemo-esque thing right here, where like Tic calls him villain, and he says, "Villain? I'm not the villain. I'm just a government servant right now." And saying that humans. If you look at the dichotomy between Hobbs and Arthur, it's that humans. They're both human. They're both human characters. One who operates out of love, one who operates out of fear. One who operates, with controlling super people. Where you have Arthur's side that trust and kind of trust and befriends the superhuman people. So there's kind of like a reversal there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think becomes a little bit more interesting when you realize like they have a whole conversation about the category testing machine, where again you might flunk out, or again it kind of makes you look at that scene a little differently on a rewatch. I don't know. Anyway, so showdown. The big Lobstercules.
I got to admit, Dragon, this is kind of where I just sort of started to kind of drift off a little bit. I'm just kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Tic versus Lobstercules fight is good, but just generally speaking, the rest of the episode is just kind of like, all right, like I kind of know how this is going to play out. They're going to, I don't know, Dragon, I'm sorry if I sound apathetic here, but it's just, there's just really not a lot of, not a big highlight pop moment of the last showdown for me. I'm really just, like I said, at this point, I kind of just phased out for the rest of the episode.
Well, the really good part is, I love that Tic's, refusing to fight Lobstercules again. Like he's learned from that previous altercation. Like, no, I refuse to fight Lobstercules. She's the mother of our children, Arthur.
Mm.
So, Lint takes advantage of, this team up with Hobbs, and importantly, Lint at the end of the season, she made her choice, where again she chose not to act out of love or fear, but to act for herself. She used the team up to essentially she's the woman who stole Aegis. She stole Aegis, all the Aegis technologies and everything away from him. And again, it's like, oh, there's the old Lint we know and know. Anyway. So I guess they get a look at this. After points, yeah, you're right. It's a bit of an anticlimax, and where you know where it's going. But
I mean, where it's going. It's not a very charismatic villain. It's there's no real suspense to it. It's just I don't know, Dragon.
Basically, it's kind of Zemo light.
It's a shame because I almost kind of feel like if episode 9 was the end of the season and we left it on a cliffhanger, it would have been a little bit more satisfying overall. I'm not saying this episode like tanks the season by any means. I'm just saying like there was a lot of damn good buildup, and then this episode is just kind of like, yeah. And it's not even an in the same way like a Better Call Saul season, episode 10 is. For the most part, we get kind of like, all right, that's a nice epilogue. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, it's not even an epilogue. It's just kind of like the inevitable kind of like, all right, we just kind of got to wrap this up here.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. So I feel it's like, honestly, I think it might be a symptom of this, Tiki. I think it might be a symptom of, if you do it, in part, Hodges feels like a parody of like a Zemo type character, whether you want to use the Mandarin, want to use the Iron Man 3 comparison or the Zemo comparison, whichever. The point is you have a character like that. And in the parody where, again, you have that reveal where, again, this guy's supposed to be a surprise, but by the same token, there's only, I think just they hit so much they can do with kind of a parody-esque character like that. I think that's what kind of may have kind of taken the teeth out of Hodges by the end, because I see what they're going for. I don't know if it lands. And basically, the result is it plays, but it's just it leads to an anti-climax. I think that's what it's what it all ends up being,
Yeah, and like I said, Dragon, it's unfortunate, and it doesn't kill the season by any stretch.
We still end on a really high note with the epilogue.
Like I'm usually a cynical asshole about these kind of things, and I'm not in this situation. But I can just say, like, by the end of my 5-hour watch of this thing, I was kind of content to, like, start, like, wrapping up my notes and, getting the show stuff together by the time I was watching the last 10 minutes or so of this episode. You know what I mean? I was
right.
But anyways.
Anyway, so let's hit the epilogue. The epilogue's really good stuff here. So the epilogue, so one, we do have a big villain reveal for what the next season would hold. So we have the big Thrakkerzog reveal. So
now, you're gonna have to like this is all you, buddy. Okay. I know nothing about any of this.
Okay, so this is a character who's been apparently in all iterations of, well, with the exception of the Warburton version, has been in the comics and been in the animated show, and so Thrakkerzog, sometimes they have to change up the characters because of rights issues. So that's why I have like Overkill's like an original creation for the show, and they can't quite do all the old characters. So, like Thrakkerzog, we have. Sorry, I'm just trying best to describe this here. Okay, so we see Rathbone on the table, and his black hole. He's dead on the table, and like in I guess the coroner's office of Aegis, and basically his gas cap heart opens, and basically the black hole seems to be taking effect. I'm thinking, oh my god, it's gonna be like one of those like swirling vortexes like we always have at the end of a climax or something. And we see a tentacle come out, and all these sorts of like tentacle-like things gonna pop up, and they basically do almost like a Doctor Strange sort of seal it. Essentially, like I guess like some sort of satanic otherworldly thing that brings him back to life. Now, the tentacles and that name, because he says, it's not speculation. He says Thrakkerzog. The Thrakkerzog is this alien character in the Tick who essentially moved in like down the hall from Tick and Arthur, and it's called The Tick versus the Uncommon Cold. Like, you might want to watch it. It's really good. It's a Tick versus the Uncommon Cold. And Jim Cummings does this character who's kind of an impression of James Mason, where he basically is like this really prim and proper, like kind of it's like an Englishman neighbor, but he's all about pleasantries. Tiki. He has a roommate. So remember how we had Miss Lint and her ex-husband as a roommate?
Yeah.
Based on Thrakkerzog, because Thrakkerzog was like this gelatinous kind of tentacly green alien with like an alien mouth. He has like a little mouth inside of like the big mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that little mouth could talk too. And the point being, it's like he is this giant otherworldly alien that would make clones and everything, but he would be like super pleasant. And he has a roommate. He says, "Oh, don't mind my roommate. He keeps to himself though." That's a thing. And again, it's and it would do these things like he would collect the DNA sample, but it has this really painful looking device, but actually just clips a toenail. He's a really pleasant, just really a nice guy. But he wants to clone the Tick and stuff, and just like do all sorts of kind of space alien stuff. The point being, so we have so somehow Thraknazog, he is kind of this other being from space, or another, more accurately, I think another dimension, another space. Hence the whole black hole of it all. You get it?
Yeah, yeah.
He's in. So apparently he's housed within Ty Rathbone, and he brought him back to life. I don't know what the whole magic thing is. I think that's on. The point being, so that we're setting up that guy for next season. Anyway. We have a big ending epilogue where Aegis is backing up and running at Rathbone saying, look, guys, we're again, because Rathbone's been championing transparency, saying, guys, we had a bad apple in the bunch, but we're all good now. And of course, Sage has basically picked up on, okay, this guy has one more secret. And, oh, yeah, it's going to be a whole thing. Basically saying, next season, we're going to deal with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But all is well. Love Hercules has been reunited with her babies. Kevin is a full-time nanny, and then Love Hercules apparently is renting Flexon's a houseboat and paying him in raw pearls.
Yeah, everything's turning up.
And then again, we have some beautiful bits here where, like, the tics, and he's like, oh, Tick and Arthur, how could I ever repay you? And then the tick says this beautiful line, says, sweet mother of lobsters, this is all we wanted to see. Like, that's all they wanted to get. They just wanted to see the mother reunite with her lobster babies. That's all they wanted, and they got it, man.
You know what? It is kind of sweet that at the end of the day, that's kind of like the ultimate goal of the season, and gosh darn it, they do achieve it. It's...
I mean, Arthur, broad spectrum, Arthur, he achieved his dream. He made it to the Flag Five. Yeah, he didn't stay on the team, but that didn't matter. He made it, and importantly, the good guys won, and that's all that matters. They reunited the lobster babies. It all worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And, let's see. Walter is welcome back into the family. What should we call you? Walter's fine, So, they're call him Walter. Then we have Overkill basically on the Overkill has made peace with Rathbone. They resolved their trauma. They're on good terms. Like, that was good shooting, son. Like, you shot me in the head, but that was a good shot. They're saying we're all cool. And Overkill and Dot, they have a little dancing moment there. Where Overkill
that dance off is so adorable, and that's kind of like the main thing, I'm sure, as you expect, that makes me think of Star-Lord and Gamora.
Yeah, that's the thing right there, yeah. Some people dance, some people don't dance.
Exactly.
You need to find a woman who's pathetic like you, Quill. And of course, Tegan, this is the moment where I almost had tears in my eyes. It's like another another checklist thing off the tick list. It's like they're again while Overkill and Dot are dancing. They're dancing to the fight song, to the Prodigy song. As it's playing, we have the Tick and Arthur. They're running out the doors, and we practically fade to white as we hear the Tick say, "Spoon."
Yeah.
He said it. It was the end of the season. He said it.
And of course, they teased the spoon thing in season 1, where he's just, looking at the spoon.
Yes, and again, Tika, to me, this is the perfect ending of the season. This is why, we dropped the ball in the climax a little bit, but you know what? It's still, this epilogue is perfect to me. Where again, he's saying they're saying, where are they going? Afternoon patrol, which is what Tick and Arthur. You know me, Tika. I love heroes going on patrol. It's such a rare thing these days. They're going on patrol, and he's saying spoon, and there's run out the door again, and fades to white. Perfect.
All right.
Then, or cliffhanger.
Oh yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so this whole episode, again, there was a question of was Superion going to save the day. I think that might have spiced up the climax, but we didn't do that. But again, that's the point. The Superion's useless. So Superion's on the moon, and by the way, this is a huge setup for the Tick as well. So with the Tick, the moon always factors into the Tick during a running gag where Chairface in the animated show, Chairface wanted to write his name in the moon. He wanted to shoot a laser at the moon and write his name in the moon. And the idea is he wrote CHA, half, so it's like Cha. And there was a thing that was the only thing of continuity. It was the only real thing of continuity along with Dinosaur Neil throughout the entire series, where the moon would say Cha in some episodes, and then there was the episode where the Tick goes into space to fix the moon so they can get rid of Cha written in it. And they got rid of the C, so it said Ha. So it's like a joke on the show. The idea is the moon is a big thing. The idea is the moon's a big thing with the Tick, so that might be some setup for some moon stuff. So that was what I was really thinking when he's all walking on the moon and stuff. So oh my god, he's walking on the moon. He's gonna do another monument thing. He's gonna write something on the moon. Oh my god.
Oh.
No, the idea is he's contemplating spinning the Earth around, which again, folks, as much as I will, I think it's fine in the Richard Donner movies, but let's face it, in real life, would not fly. Okay, would not fly, and is that you can't do that sort of thing now because then you have people, all the logic police today that didn't exist in the 70s, where it's like, Superman can fly around the world because he's a fictional character that's beloved, but don't give him a cellophane S, but he can fly around the world, no problem. But again, these days, like, Superman can't spin the Earth around backwards, everyone would fly off. And of course, like, Superion's so reckless, he was about to do it, saying, well, if it doesn't work out, there are a bunch of fish in the sea, and before he has the chance to, he's arrested by some sort of spaceship that I believe is his home planet. This is Fugitive 11X. You're under arrest. Assume the position. Ah, crap. Yeah, that's how the season ends.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
All right. So, any like loose speculation? We kind of went over most of it already, but anything?
Yeah, Dragon. I think we're good because we're kind of trailing on 3 hours with this thing, which is fine because it's a whole season. But I'm just saying I don't want to really prolong it any further unless you got anything really pressing.
I just want to hit the bullet points just to say we already mentioned like Chairface. I'd love to see personally at the end of next season so we can get him for a 4th season in a perfect world. I mean, it might never happen with this Mandarin reveal. I hope that's not the case, but again, I could live with it because we're talking about practicalities. Like, Chairface is a big ask, but it's an awesome one,
It's like, I feel like at the very least we saw furniture people this season. I didn't even think we'd ever go that
I'm
far.
saying furniture people to me sounded like, and again, the whole decapitated guy is still alive. I kind of
yeah.
Again, Thrachnazog, and I think it's pretty safe to assume we're going to get Thrachnazog. Sorry. Anyway, okay, last thing here. I think one thing I want to see, because again, we kind of one gripe I have with the season is that we overlook things. Tiki, we've lost visual.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Sorry.
Anyway, so the thing I'd like to see is that maybe Arthur learns some fight moves from Dot, and maybe Dot teaches Arthur a few moves to fight. Because again, the thing that bugged me is that Arthur had those taser hands they didn't use once during this season, and he had the bulletproof suit. And no one shot him. It's kind of a shame we kind of forgot that sort of stuff. I mean, we didn't need it, but I was like, maybe they'll bring that back a little next season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this is one important thing. So we have there's some alien payoff where Arthur's suit was designed to combat an alien element. Now, it was unclear. People assumed that was Superion because he was the only alien on the planet. Some people have theorized maybe the tic's an alien, and we're going to reveal that. So maybe the suit was designed to fight the tick. But another thing is that maybe the payoff, the big payoff, is going to be it's going to be the face Thrachnazog, who is also an alien. That's what I'm going to think it is.
Sure.
All right, that's all I got. So final thoughts.
All right. I'm just going to keep it simple, Dragon, just to reiterate what I've already said before. I think that this is very much a success of a season. It's got all the trappings of really good tick. I feel like it's got more meta humor than season 1 had, but at the end of the day, I feel like season 1 just had a little bit of a better through line to it. Like, obviously the villain in season 1 is much stronger. I'm not trying to hold that too much against it, but I don't know. It's a tricky thing where I feel like they're very much like on par with each other because they kind of balance each other out. Like, this one feels more like classic Tick all the way through, and there's not really that origin story angle here. Like, this one, we kind of, hit the ground running with all the classic Tick stuff, and it's great. But by the same token, I don't really feel like this one is as satisfying on a narrative level as season 1 was. But by the same token, I feel like each individual character gets more of a character arc in season 2 than they did in season 1. So it's kind of like, what am I in the mood for right now? It's like, Dragon, I'll say this. It's like, I feel like season 1 is probably the more cohesive season just for the villain. But I gotta say, I think season 2 is probably going to be the one I rewatch more because season 2 is just very easy to just kind of like dive into. It's, as we've already discussed, it's got a lot of the tick isms that kind of made us fall in love with this series and this IP to begin with. And the ending's not great, and I do kind of hold a lot of weight on an ending, and season 1 had a really damn good ending. So that does hurt season 2, but by the same respects, I really just hope that more people start talking about this damn show, Dragon. It really does bother me that it's legitimately hard to find reviews about it. That's like, why is that?
Yeah. Well, you know, I echo a lot of your sentiments just to save some time here, but on the whole, you know, I want, you know, I definitely want more of this show. I hope we get more of it. Again, I mean, at least they ended on a high note, that running, you know, kind of running out spoon moment. But again, best, you know, fingers crossed. Again, they kept it simple. And the worst case scenario, I guess maybe they could trim 2 episodes out and go to 8 episodes if it was like a budgetary thing to kind of give them to come back at least. I mean, I'm down for whatever gets us to come back here, but. I thought it was so great seeing the new status quo. Sarah Finwoods continues to just be perfect in the role, and this quite possibly this may be some of the best tick stuff yet with the show overall. It's again, it's taking the you know, kind of the fun and absurdity of the animated show, and I guess somewhat the comic. And kind of the seeing it realized kind of quality that we have with the Warburton stuff. Again, it's got its own original flair. It's kind of taken the ridiculousness, but adding a lot more pathos to it than we've seen any of the other stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's great stuff, and more people do need to check it out. I echo that sentiment emphatically. Yes.
All right. So, Dragon, we are on the precipice of a big pop culture event that you and I don't care about it all. Dragon, Game of Thrones is coming back tonight.
Well, yeah, I don't care about that at all. It's already happened.
For the season premiere of the last series. But you know what I do care about, Dragon? Barry. And I'm happy that Barry is on the air. Anyways, I know that's kind of an off topic. Dragon, here's my dilemma here. I don't know how to end this without just yelling spoon. And not only is it late and I don't really want to yell spoon right now, but I feel like that's a cliche at this point to end a Tick podcast by yelling spoon. So you got any other suggestions?
Well, of course I do.
All right.
Tick and Arthur are saving lobster babies. Lobster babies.